Wednesday, June the 3rd, 2020. You're listening to the Giant Bombcast. I am Brad Shoemaker. Joining me, Ben Pack.
Hey.
Jan Ochoa.
That's me.
Vinny Caravella.
I'm on the wrong podcast.
No, don't go. We need you. We need you.
Oops.
You're here now. You can't leave. You're trapped for the next 2 hours. Austin Walker is here.
Hey, I'm
so
also
much.
on. This is the right podcast to be on in this moment. I'm happy to be here.
That's
It was my 5-year anniversary. I
No
joined
kidding.
Giant Bomb yesterday as
Wow.
recording,
No
so 2 days
kidding.
ago as of this being posted. Yeah.
How
June
the last
1st.
few years have flown. It seems. Time flies when you're having. Thank all of you guys so much for being here, especially Vinny and Austin taking time out of your normal schedule here today.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's a Wednesday. I don't know if this is legal, but we're doing the podcast today. I think probably speak for everybody here that as weeks go where you want to talk about video games, this one's not high on the list.
It's hard to, right? I think that's the
Yes.
thing. It's like it's hard to stay focused in that
Right.
way. I've closed Twitter. I'm gonna not look at Twitter while we're recording, and we're gonna go better for
I
it.
took it off my phone yesterday. That didn't stop me from going to twitter.com and Chrome, but I took the app off.
Oh, dude, it's rough.
It's rough out there. It's been a pretty trying week in this country for sure. We along with a lot of other people, made the decision to take Tuesday to let other people speak and be heard. And there's a lot to say. There's a lot to say and a lot to hear.
Do you guys swear on this podcast?
You're keeping loose today.
Quite
Okay.
frequently.
Say what
Okay.
you just say what you feel.
Oh gosh, what I fuck so much shit. Right? Holy, oh man, that's all I want. Oh fuck it. Why is everything so fucked up? Why is everything? Oh, I think I know why.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why it turns out.
Yeah.
But holy crud. A lot of people going through a lot of bad stuff right now. A lot of people getting out there trying to fix a lot of bad stuff right now. And man, I'm just no top-down leadership coming out of the places you'd want it to come out of. It's coming out of organizations that need it to have it, but man, out of right now, oh boy.
I feel like this has been, for me, a good reminder that long-term solutions can't just come from electing the politicians you like. And not that I personally have the politicians I like in office throughout the country, but that there will always be other ways. You don't elect the police, for instance, right?
Right.
That is not a thing that I can't go vote out the police chief in New York. I can't even necessarily vote for a mayoral candidate who will put forward, policies that would make my life easier in this city. I could do it to some degree, in the primary process, but by the time it gets down to the election, it's well, here we are. And I think it speaks to the importance of having grassroots movements, mutual aid, local community-driven, neighborhood-driven stuff. And protest. Honestly, the pressure, one of the ways in which you can, kind of inflect pressure onto the government is by reminding them that they work for you, and denying authoritarianism when you see it pop up around you. And that has to be a very active process, and it's very scary, but it's also, I think, super necessary right now. So if you are, for me, from speaking as Austin Walker and not as Giant Bomb, if you were out there, protesting on the behalf of Black lives, protesting on the behalf of victims of police violence, I thank you so much for doing that. You have my heart and my support. So good luck. It's going to be an ongoing thing.
This big old creaky system is really starting to show its age, I think. And if there is any positive to come out of this, hopefully it is a reminder or a reawakening that, and that's been going on for several years. I don't want to be dismissive of the work that's already been done, but just a reawakening to the fact that getting out, hitting the pavement and doing the work out there is a direct way to get stuff done.
And I think echoing what Austin said, I think a lot. So I'm in a kind of a smaller town nestled in a bigger area here in New Jersey, but I think it's even important in those community instances to build up from there and out. And I'm lucky that I, because of school, because I have kids in school, I engage with a lot of people and a lot of different people, and it's a very diverse community. I'm very lucky for that. But it's a face-to-face is also there's a lot of fronts on this, and I feel like being able to just talk to people sometimes, it's very hard now when you're getting face-to-face given the other stuff that's going on, but those channels of communication were established before, so it's I feel very lucky in that sense for this small microcosm of a thing to be able to work through the community. We can organize here, we can get the people we need, we can do the protests we need in our small community that can then we're able to get kids engaged, we're able to get the teenagers engaged and reach out and really, I think, hopefully communicate with the people that matter, whose voices need to matter the most, and people those kids need to hear, and then extrapolate that out larger. That's a much harder problem, but I do feel like a lot of that stuff starts small.
I'm right there with Vinny. I think something that I've seen a lot of people express, and something I felt myself, is like, well, I'm just one person, what can I do? It's easy to feel powerless when acts of military might are like in your point of view, right? Like, it's easy to feel like you have no power, which is not true. There's power in masses, and it starts with like educating yourself, listening. Like it's I like to think of myself as somebody who is fairly clued in to a lot of what's happening, but even I have a ton of things I can be reading, a ton of like, challenge yourself. It's hard, but it needs to be done, and you'll be a better person. You'll be able to express more sympathy to your fellow man. Like, there is just no downside to it other than the brief moments of uncomfortable gut wrenching you're gonna feel in your stomach while it's going on.
And at the same time, while you're challenging yourself, like, if you can't go out and protest, if you're not in a financial place to donate to any causes, challenge your social circles, whether it be your family, your friends. Check the privileges that you yourself have, especially your friends. I know I have a bunch of friends that are they're shitheads a lot of the time. And it's challenging to check your loved ones and their behavior, but that goes a long way once it's done.
It's a thing that I think about a lot. Vinny, you were saying that there are lots of issues, or like, we were talking earlier off mic about how things kind of scaffold up, how it's like, there's one issue. And like, okay, wait a second, that one issue is 2 issues. That 2 issues, 4 issues. There's like, it's like killing a slime in a video game, which just splits and splits and splits. And it's like, you can't... Every normal days of the week, I think a lot of us would say, like, oh yeah, we can do whatever. We can do anything. Like, can we get back to the moon? Yes, of course we can get back to the moon. Could we develop a new technology that does X, Y, Z? Like, yeah, of course we can. We just have to put enough resources in it. I think it's like, pay attention a lot when people start to say, no, this is too big to fix. There's too many issues here to fix it. Our efforts better spent elsewhere. I'm not saying there are not things that take such an insurmountable sort of work that committing to trying to change them all at once is not overwhelming and demoralizing. But if you think about the world as a patient and us as doctors, like, I don't think we're at the point where we have to be like, write it off, at time of death. Like, no, you like put your gloves on, you start working, figure out what you can treat right now, figure out what's going to take a longer period of, recuperation, and a longer period of rehab, figure out what is surgery, figure out what is antibiotics, right? Like, there is not a single solution to it. The single solution will not be that we win an election in a few months. That will help. That will be one part of a much bigger thing. But like, it cannot stop there. It can't stop at we get one person in office who, depending on how you feel, might not even be your chosen candidate to begin with. And what you need is just like an entire, almost a campaign towards justice, a campaign towards making the world better, towards justice not only in this particular moment around racial justice, but the ways in which other things interlock with that. Like, global warming didn't disappear, and global warming is going to hit these communities harder than it hits really affluent communities. Issues around women's rights and sexism did not disappear because in this moment we're grieving for Black lives. And in fact, it turns out Black women suffer a lot more, or face a lot more in other ways than we don't that also need to be addressed, right? And so that is it's a big menu, and it can sound like okay. I'll take everything on the menu, and I get that that's a lot, but you know, one tray at a time, one order at a time. Let's pick something and start working on it, and don't decide to leave the restaurant. There's like 7 metaphors I'm working on here. In this metaphor, you're a surgeon at a restaurant, and someone.
But they're on scaffolds.
They're on scaffolds, so they also have hard hats on.
There's a slime there.
There's a slime, right? Oh, I'm sorry. We're just talking about the new Yakuza game that's coming out. I think this is a character who could easily be in that game.
Yeah, like relatedly, I think we could say like there's no change too small, right? Or too,
Right.
or you know, too irrelevant or trivial or whatever. I mean, if you're feeling frustrated or pissed off or whatever, like you said, you don't have to confront, you know, the entirety of the Goliath. You know, you can pick your battle. You know, pick your cause. Like to do what you can and like channel those feelings into, you know, any change you make is better than none.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now is
Been
the
a lot.
hardest part of every one of these podcasts that we'll be doing is like now we should talk about video games.
All right, Brad, hit us with a segue.
Oh boy, I don't
Play the music.
How do I even like? You know, I asked you guys before we came in here. Like, did you even play anything this week?
Yeah.
Because I sure as hell didn't. I had a couple things lined up. I thought I was going to get into over the weekend.
I just thought of something that I didn't tell you I played, but I actually played some literally moments before starting this that has been a relief to me in a very strange way during COVID in general, and now that it's back during this week as well, which is Valorant is back. Valorant Day. Ben
What do you mean
and I
back?
have played some.
Did it go down? Did they take it down for a while? Or
Yeah,
Between the end of the beta, was what, Ben? Friday?
I think so.
And now it's back up worldwide. I like that game a lot more than I that's not the gamer I am. You know me. I'm like stories, RPGs, open worlds, but I've poured so much time into Valorant over the last month. I think that game, and also, let me just say, I've had some issues with Riot before in the past. And I've actually talked about why I'm still playing this game, despite that over on Waypoint Radio a few weeks ago at this point. But that game is like a really good shooter. I have not played a CS Ghost or a CS style shooter in probably a decade. But I think that the balance between like player or character abilities, the map design, like all that stuff has just clicked for me so well.
The abilities are really fine-tuned to a degree that I did not appreciate when I first started playing, especially because I came at it. I mean, they were very vocal up front about like, okay, this is not Overwatch. This is not a game you can win with tactical ability use. You still have to be able to shoot a gun at the end of the day. Like, you still have to hit your shots. But even with that kind of caveat going in, I'm like, okay, but they have classes, right? Like, these are the support characters, and maybe I can just play support and I don't really have to be good with the gun. No,
fact,
you got to shoot.
The best support character is maybe also the most, like, not difficult, but like you got to be good with her to use her.
Yes. Turns out the best way to support your team is covering your areas, hitting your corners, like, you know, watching exits and stuff. But as I played more, I've been playing almost exclusively as Raze, who's kind of the like demolitions character. She's got like a rocket launcher alt, but
She's a Junkrat.
Yeah. And she has like sticky packs, you know, you can put it down, you can like rocket jump off of them. And then you start playing more and you realize like, okay, I can actually get some really good verticality with these and like just dive in from above and hit 2 people with a rocket. Or she has a little remote, like it's called the Boombot. It'll go out in straight lines and you can like have that bounce off of the rocket packs and all this stuff. And it only like, I looked at the character's abilities when I first loaded it up. I'm like, these don't really seem that interesting. But when you play it, when you start to learn, when you learn the maps and you learn the angles and you learn like how tight you have to be with your movement and your usages and stuff, it kind of comes into cohesion a little better.
How many
Boombot
characters are we talking?
It's 11
Okay,
at once.
so
They added a new one.
Not a MOBA number then.
No, not yet, right? the Boombot's like a great example of an ability that you look at and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then after you put 20 hours into that character, you start to see all the different use cases for it.
Yeah.
It's like a Roomba, or it's sort of like a Roomba.
Sort of like a Roomba. It
All
travels in straight
Yeah,
lines.
it goes in a straight line, or it's like the DVD logo that bounces when it hits something, except when it runs into an enemy, it blows up. And at first you're like, oh, I guess I could just like throw this when I see an enemy, and that way it'll go to where the enemy is, it'll blow up. But what you end up realizing is like, oh no, this is about controlling a space.
Yeah.
This is about if I have to go around a corner, I can send the Boombot in first, and it makes a certain reaction noise and charges when its sensors see an enemy. So it's like you kind of lead it in there, it sees someone or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, that means it's a safe corner to go take, right?
Yeah.
And you only get, one of those around,
Yes.
Ben? And so it's like, okay, where do I spend that resource? When should I use this thing that probably won't win me a fight, but will give me confidence that a corner is safe? Or where I can slow someone down if they're pushing at us. They have to stop and deal with this Boombot first.
I was definitely like way overusing it when I first started playing her, because I'm like, okay, I'm on defense and I have to defend long B, right? Like a big like long entrance where
Hallway,
enemies are gonna
basically,
come.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I run up there, I wait 5 seconds, and I launch my Boombot. It's like, well, that's gonna maybe catch somebody if they're rushing, but most teams play it a little slower, or if they all went to the other site, it's gonna be completely useless. So it's sorry, I just got a low disk space notification.
Uh-oh.
Hey, you know what? I didn't want to say anything, but I'm just going to tell you that's not the first production difficulty we've had since we started this.
Oh, good.
We'll get into that off after the break starts. I don't know if this is a.
I got a backup.
Oh, great. God bless you, Austin Walker. I don't know if this is even a meaningful distinction or not, but like, is this game more of a CS than a Call of Duty? Like,
Yes.
because I have
Yes.
not, because I have not played Counter-Strike in like. I'm not trying to make myself sound old, but probably 20 years. Like I'd definitely since way before Call of Duty became a thing, right? And so I'm trying to think in my mind, like, are those actually that different? Like, what are the distinctions that you see in this game there?
It's been very interesting, I think, because I thought the same thing at first, and I got into it. I was like, oh no, this is a different game. I'd say the things that make it like Call of Duty, the time to death is still pretty short. Like a gunfight, a 1v1 will leave one of you dead most of the time, unless you're both peeking and like quickly retreating. But even then, most of the time. And I think other than that, it feels like a different game.
Yeah, I've been playing not a lot. I've been playing a little bit of Warzone here and there. And I would say like the major distinctions are, for a Call of Duty, it's like, okay, let's move with the squad and everyone's keeping an eye out and we're all going to be observant. And if we see something, we're all going to move together or we're going to like tactically split up. Valorant, since it's attack and defense, right? Like, okay, on the attack side, well, both in both cases, you're usually splitting off into smaller squads. You have your individual responsibility, but you have to be able to rotate. Like, it's more of a, I don't know, it's more of like using, like, as soon as you get one kill, it's a huge advantage. Like, a 4v5 is miles easier than a 5v5. Like, a 5v3 is almost guaranteed, but like, you know, it's one of those things of just like, it's I'd say a little more tactical than Call of Duty, where Call of Duty is a little more reflexive. I guess.
So like imagine in Call of Duty, and again, I haven't played high level Call of Duty, and my suspicion is at high levels this is different, especially in certain objective based modes. But when I played Call of Duty, I was basically playing team deathmatch. I was basically playing like point control type stuff, which is objective based, but not quite like this, where this is more like it's like Counter-Strike, where it's like there is a round. That round is going to last 3 minutes. Someone is going to win that round, and we're going to move on to the next round, right? And the way that works is, okay, you and your team are going to try to get onto a point. The enemy team has like maybe 2 people at point A, 3 people at point B. I decide like, okay, let's try to go point A. I'll drop some smoke bombs down from a satellite above, because that's the thing my character can do. That'll give us enough cover to quickly rush onto the point. Someone can plant the bomb there. If we're good, we'll have a 3 or 4v2, and we can take those 2 people out. And then everyone stop and pick your angle. Everyone watch one of the doorways in, right? And at that point, you're almost more like Rainbow Six Siege, but they're smaller maps than that.
Oh,
Let's just keep these production difficulties rolling.
Dramatic pause.
It was a good place to stop. It was a nice
And
clean,
it's really good.
Nice clean break. And it sounds like the game's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Austin, if you can hear us, we can no longer hear you.
I don't. His icon turned gray.
Yeah, I think he's
His
just
connection has turned to ash.
Oh, no.
boy.
They have salted the internet line where it lays.
Valorant, Ben.
Well,
Yeah, pick it up.
I'll say one other thing about Valorant, and if Austin was still here with us, he'd be able to help me out. But like, I think the most annoying thing to come in as a new player to Valorant is not what I initially thought, which would be like, okay, what are all the different hero abilities? Like, I'm going to be like, oh, I died. What did I die to? It's all this other stuff like that. No, it's all the stupid little names for all the different points on the map. There's connector, heaven, hookah.
Wait, what?
You know, you have to know like all the stupid little names for the rooms, so you can call out like there's 2 in spawn. Okay, spawn's easy, but
as someone who works on the floor of an office building where all the meeting room names are named after Star Wars planets, that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah,
just call them call them Alpha and Beta and Gamma.
Bro, so that's the thing, because you have those dedicated sites are like A and B, but then like there's 5 little ways that somebody can make their way from A to B, and you have to be able to tell somebody like in an instant they are in hookah, which is the room that has a hookah in it, I guess, or they are in heaven.
Oh, so it's not actual
Okay.
designated names on the map.
Okay,
It's
it's
just,
like landmark stuff. All right,
Yeah,
that sounds
yeah.
doable.
And so like when you start I've only played this game with like full stacks of other people. I'm not solo queuing into any Valorant games, and sometimes those games are led by somebody who knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, making a lot of calls, which is great because I could use the help. I don't know tactically what to do, but they're also like, okay, 3 move to hookah, and I'm just sitting there like, man, what? I just disagree with it on a fundamental level because I think it's a stupid name.
Austin, welcome back.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna redo these crops.
Yeah, I would like to know.
Ben, you're now Austin. Austin, you're now Vinny.
Sweet.
Incredible.
Jan is Ben. Vinny is Jan.
Look out for
Okay.
doorways, I guess.
I got my hair back.
Oh man, and what a head of hair.
Oh, incredible.
Welcome back.
What happened?
but
Are we still going? Or are we just?
We were going. I was just talking about how dumb the names for all the rooms in Valor.
Oh, did you talk about hookah? There's no
We
hookah.
talked about hookah for
But
sure.
you know, there used to be hookahs in there. That's why it's called hookah.
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Some people try to call it carpets, but like lots of rooms have carpets, bud. Okay.
like that to me kind of says this game's really like doing it for people. If they are
Yes.
coming up with like cutesy like twee names for elements in the game, then like it's happening, right? Like Valorant is a thing.
Have they
Valorant is
changed
a thing.
anything major since going from beta to final release?
Do you define what you mean by major?
Well, you said they added a character.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, they've added. I mean, there's a new map.
Oh,
One,
okay.
like straight up a whole new map, which is a big deal because it's not quite a MOBA where there's one map most of the time, but there'd only been 3 maps previously. They're very like fine tuned to be to give players advantages in different ways. So like that's a big deal to be like, here's a whole new one.
Yeah.
They changed something on Split, I want to say, not the one that's 2 that doesn't have teleporters.
Got it. Yeah.
The middle air. This is so inside baseball, but I'm going to say it anyway. In the mid spot where there's like where vents.
Am I an
are?
attacker or am I on
You're
defender?
an attacker. You're an
Okay.
attacker. There's a ramp that goes up a little bit, and then there's a hallway to the
It
right,
can
and then
lead
there's
to the-
left. It can lead to heaven. It can lead to heaven on the left. Heaven is a common phrase in this game that means like a position above a point. So it's like there's points A and points B, and if there's like a balcony looking over it, that's heaven. No matter what the map is, that's heaven, right?
Wow,
That's heaven
really?
to me. Yeah. We talk about that as being heaven, which is fun.
That's fun.
And then, so before there was a place, again, Ben, you're with me, you're in this hallway. The right side is vents, the left side is heaven. There used to be a wall in front of vents so that the person you could kind of move out and hide behind that wall on defense. That wall's gone. That wall is just 100% gone now.
Oh man,
which is huge. And it's
huge.
Like no one who hasn't played this game, or everyone who hasn't played this game thinks that I sound like a madman, I'm sure.
I mean, it's like moving the shrines in Dota. It's the equivalent of just like, oh my god, that's a game changer. When you're really just like, it's the most minor thing that somebody who never played would never be able to look at the two pictures and be like, what's the difference?
What are you fucking talking about?
I love when you said that Dota reference. I was also like, oh yeah, Wait, they moved the shrines. What do you?
I mean, here's another one.
You can't move heaven. Wait, what?
This one's maybe more easy to understand. Sage, who is the one healing character, the one character who can heal other players, had her healing orb cooldown increased from 35 seconds to 45 seconds.
Okay.
That's a big change.
That's a pretty big one.
To be like, okay, guess what? She's still a healer. She's still a great healer because there are no other ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes sense because she was in every game.
You
would pretty much always have a Sage.
Yes, exactly.
My last question about this, especially with all this weird ass jargon and stuff, are you guys doing the pub pickup game thing, or are you only playing with friends? Because this sounds like kind of a nightmare with randos.
I'm only 5 stacking, or if I have like one friend who really wants to play.
Yeah, I do my best to 5 stack, which is just five people on each team. Partially because I think that communication helps so much. The ability to be like, hey, we all have the same jargon, even if we don't all use. Maybe we have a piece of jargon that's unique to us, that's important. And it's just good to be able to say, okay, what are we doing next round? And trust that someone isn't going to be like, well, I'd be doing better if I got to play as Jet, but you picked Jet. Like, all right, cool. Well, I guess we're going to lose next round is the thing that you want to do. The other thing is...
It really is Dota.
Yeah, it really... the other thing is, it turns out, even in 2020, would you believe it, there are jerks on the internet. There are racists and homophobes on the internet. It's not great. I know that Riot has, report systems in place and stuff like that. But if I can avoid pub games, I avoid pub games. There's a new mode, actually, that is probably better for pub games called Blitz Rush or something like that. Blitz something.
Blitz the League.
Blitz the League. It's called Spike Rush. And it's... All right, so you have to understand most of these games are first to 13 rounds, which means a match can go 25 rounds, right? It can go that long. I've had those games. Those rounds are between, let's say, 60 seconds and 3 minutes, between 1 and 3 minutes. And it's one person has a bomb on the offensive team, and you're kind of moving really slow. Spike Rush is everyone has a bomb.
Okay.
You don't buy guns or abilities. There's no buying phase. You just get everyone gets the same random weapon. And there are special orbs around the map that give you bonuses, like a better weapon, or they poison the enemy team. It's like a very arcadey version of it. And then you play first to four rounds. And so it's like a really good drop in, try out a gun you would avoid normally because I'm not good at sniping. I'm not going to spend my in-game money on my per match money on a sniper rifle. I'm going to get killed. But in this mode, it's cool to be like, oh wow, I guess I'm going to use the operator because that's what everyone's using this round. Let me try it out.
Oh, you mean the op?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is literally, Brad. It is the op. Everyone calls it the op. They just drop that W out and move it over from the op to the op.
You know what? I got to give it to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bold. That's the audacity is something I can admire. For sure. Yep.
It's weird because Riot doesn't have a history of doing this sort of thing.
No, definitely not.
God. So that is the hot new thing that I've been playing.
That's cool.
That has been respite for me in some troubling weeks. So
I think there's maybe a hotter, newer thing.
Yeah. Hang on. I've been working on this the whole show.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like a bunch of you have climbed aboard the monster train.
You
Oh.
want to try that again?
I don't know if that's. I don't even know if that's the hot new thing you were talking about.
Take it from the top.
Was that the game?
That's the game.
Okay.
I'm just still
reeling from this
off the train?
This
Caboose.
stunning example of wordplay. What is monster? What is this a card game? It's a card game, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
On trains.
So you play as a bunch of monsters on a train.
I've seen that movie. Yeah,
Okay.
That's it.
That's the game.
It's we got to get it out of the way right at the top. It's a rogue. It's a run-based card building, deck building video game.
Yep.
Yes. But instead of going up or across the side, you're going down further into hell.
Whoa.
So we've had heaven and now we're into hell. Got it. Okay.
Right.
Oh, heaven's there too.
Heaven is there.
You'll just never get
Heaven's
there.
trying to get you.
So yeah, you're playing as like kind of you're like a bunch of hell spawn trying to save the pyre, the heart of hell, right? That's
It's
kind of
the
like how they phrase it.
emperor in hell. Like, hell's almost been taken over. You got yourself a train. It's powered by the last ember of hell.
Yeah.
It's extremely 90s Spawn, war between the angels and the devils. Like it is exactly that stuff.
The
Vinny,
first
you will love it.
like they have a sort of magic-esque like red, blue kind of like color-coded classes. And the first class you play as are just like horned ass red guys with chains and whips.
It's Kratos. The first guy you get is Kratos. Just to be 100% clear, it's Kratos. It's
red
what if
Kratos.
Kratos was a demon? Yeah, 100%.
And it's pretty fun. I've been playing quite a bit of it. I was not a huge Slay the Spire fan.
Is that the template I was trying to resist? Because it's kind of it's a little reductive to just be like, is it Slay the Spire plus blank? But that's
it's
the
like
comparison I keep seeing.
You could almost throw Dota into that equation too, because there's lanes that you have to deal with.
There's lanes,
and you have to protect the core.
Train lanes.
They're train lanes.
Train lanes.
Yeah.
Lanes for
there
trains.
You go. Lanes for trains. And you're right. You're right. Jan is right. There is what is it called in Dota? It's the Ancient, right?
Yes.
You're protecting you're defending the Ancient. There's an Ancient.
This is artifact, guys. I don't want to get this whole conversation going. But this is artifact.
I gotta check my email. I gotta see if I get into that the hottest beta of 2020.
It's cool. I like Slay the Spire a lot. So Slay the Spire is probably my fave one of these. I love the process of playing. If you haven't played one of these card games before and you're wondering like what is the difference between this and something like Artifact or Hearthstone, it's that you build a new deck every time you play. I think the word deck building gets thrown around a lot, and people don't necessarily know the difference between Hearthstone deck building and deck building in a game like this.
Versus drafting is a whole world of difference.
That's exactly right. This is a drafting game. This is a game in which you are throughout the process of playing, building a new deck every time you play a run. And so it's really cool to be like, okay, what is this deck I'm building? What are the mechanics I'm investing in? Am I going to like pierce through armor? Am I going to try to get a bunch of little damage that like piles up quickly?
Every class kind of has their own thing, like that they can do. There's a couple things that they're not one dimensional. So you start out with like red and green. It's like the red are the hell demons. They've got armor, much like a warrior in Hearthstone. It's about like getting big and bulky. And they've also got like high damage output. And then the green guys are like, okay, they have a lot of healing. They have big tankier units that usually have higher health pools. They get spikes, which is kind of like if you attack them, they'll do some damage back on you sort of stuff. There's a blue class, that's your magic class, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you getting junk cards in your deck that you need to try and get rid of?
Yes. Yeah, you start with like every deck starts very similar. You choose your main class and like a subclass. I think they're called clans.
Yes,
your main clan and your sub clan. And your main clan, the only distinction there is what champion you're getting. And you always start with a champion. It's always the same champion. You upgrade them as you play, but it's a very powerful unit that you can put down. And the inclusion of the champion, it's always in your starting hand. It always costs 0 mana to play. You can always get somebody out there. And that's a huge, huge deal for me because it really, I've not had a single room, honestly, of Monster Train feel like I lost to bad RNG. I think that's something that this game does extremely well is like, I'm never like, well, I didn't draw the right cards. Fuck, I'm fucked.
Yeah, it's not that FTL feeling, which I love FTL, but you could get late into a run in FTL and be like, well, I just didn't get what I needed.
Fuck the flagship, man. I will never get over it. I love that game. I love that game so much right up until the last 90 seconds of it when you get fucking obliterated every time.
Or you walk over it. That's the problem with the flagship in FTL was like there are builds that just crush it.
So I've never beaten that game because I hate playing that way, but that's what I've always been told is like there is like a build
or
like maybe
get a ion whatever and then you just crush it.
2 viable builds that will smoke that thing, but if you don't build that way then fuck you.
It feels like in Monster Train, at least my experience so far, I have like a couple wins at this point. It seems like every clan has something broken in it.
Sure.
Good broken?
Yeah, like fun. Like, oh, this shouldn't. I feel too strong. This is great.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it one of those things where you're like, how is everybody not using this one? This is the perfect one, until you use the next thing and be like, how is everybody not using this one? Obviously, this is the way to play.
Exactly.
Does it have that element of hot bullshit that Slay the Spire does? Because I guess it's kind of what you were saying with FTL, right? Like it's a similar thing of like, do you guys remember the champion from Slay the Spire?
Mhm.
The big ass, just the big ass armor dude.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is the rebel flagship of that game to me. Like I never built in a way to beat him, and he would just fucking flatten me every time. And like if you're winning runs of this already, it sounds like maybe this is a little more forgiving.
I'd say the in between the battles is also more forgiving and like kind of boosting you up.
Okay.
Like in Slay the Spire, you'll wind up like going down a path where you won't be able to heal up or buy new crap or get artifacts. But here it's like in between each battle, it's like, okay, not only could I get a new item, but I might be able to get more money or might be able to remove the garbage cards, which is like been incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Deck management is a huge part of this game. So it's not something I want to clear up before we talk about it too much longer. It is, so there's kind of like I've played a few. I didn't play much Slay the Spire, but I played through SteamWorld Quest. That was the deck one, right?
Yes.
And some Hearthstone arena stuff. And like this is much more akin. This is not a game where you like have your main guy and you're doing attacks from him. You're laying monsters on the board, but you're not laying ever too many. Like at max, I've had like 3 in one lane.
Mhm.
So it's not about like, making sure you have like your 10 really strong guys. It's more of like management and upgrading existing cards. All cards have like 2 slots on them that you can fit upgrades into, whether it be a spell card that's like, okay, this does double damage or whatever. So a card that is just like, boom, do 10 damage to your enemy becomes do 20, or do 10 healing becomes do 20. But then there's also interesting effects like double the effect or whatever it is. Or like, instead of discarding this card, it just goes back onto the top of your pile. So it's less about building the perfect deck and more about taking your starting deck and just slowly tweaking it as you go and forming it based on, there's like outline factors like artifacts you can pick up, which will be just sort of top level stuff like all spells do 3 more damage, or like enemies enter your train and take 5 damage or something like that. And the structure of it is interesting too, because it's not like if your heroes die, you lose. You have this consistent health, the pyre, it's keeping consistent throughout the whole level. It starts with like 80 HP, which is a ton. And early on, you might take like 5-10 damage from them. But then sometimes you roll up on a boss, and if you really like boss levels are the thing that are vicious in this game.
Yeah.
Some of those bosses have 1,200 health or whatever. And it's like, okay, I need to have a combo, or I need to have a solution to put out a ton of health. And the way, I guess actually, Brad, here's the pitch for you is, this is also actually a tower defense game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your Ember is at the top level of the train. Enemies tend to come in at the bottom level and work their way up. And so you're kind of like, how do I get enough damage on them before they leave this floor and move to the next floor where they're going to get hit some more, right? And ideally what you're doing is you have some solution by the time you're fighting bosses to really swing hard at them.
Yeah.
But often I have not had those solutions in place. So if there is the champ, it is like, I need to look at the list of bosses. I don't remember the names. They're angels. There's an angel who is just incredibly strong, and I need to
Was it the bird looking one?
Yeah, it's the bird looking one.
Yeah, it's the bird looking one.
Uh-huh.
All black. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck that guy. I found early on of like people are struggling. The green class they have like these really big tanky units, and I found that a lot of times I can get through most circumstances by putting one of those guys in front, because it's also like positioning is a big part of the game. So the front enemies will always attack the front enemies, and they'll clash and stuff like that. And so if you have your big tanky guy up front and then your DPS behind them, there are enemies that will like hit your back line or hit all units or move. Like you can't move units between floors either unless you have specific cards that do so. So it's very much of a thing of like, you don't want to just plop everyone down as you get them. You want to like think ahead and be like, okay, well, I have these units now. If I don't play them, they're going to be discarded. I'm probably not going to see them for like 3 turns, but is that worth doing just to make sure I have one strong unit on each floor?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but what is the process for card acquisition? Is it from beating enemies? Is there a shop or something? How do you actually decide if you want a card or when you get them?
There's so every time you clear a level, you get put on. There's like a choice of 2 tracks, and it'll be like you'll see kind of little interactables on each side of the track, and then it can be stuff like straight up just get a unit. Sometimes you get a unit if you beat a boss character. There are shops, and then there are like random encounters where it'll be like if you get rid of 5 HP from your pyre, we're going to give you a 25% chance to get something in return. And like random encounters like that. There's places that are just straight up, you enter this place and you can get rid of 2 cards from your deck, so you can get rid of 2 of the like weaker cards that come default in. That's what I meant earlier about like deck management being a big part of it. Is getting rid of cards is just as important at a certain point.
And it's cheap. And I think that's one of the smartest things about this game is it's not afraid to mechanically take big swings in the sense of you'll get things like upgrade this card, upgrade one of your cards by 20 damage. And like that's a lot of damage when right now most of my cards do 4 damage, right? I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. Or like you said, you'll find a spot that's just like get rid of 2 cards, not spend 50 gold to get rid of 2 cards. So that's also an option in certain places. It's telling you straight up, hey, listen, you don't need all the cards in your deck. You're gonna get your the percentage that you're gonna get a card you want is gonna be higher if you get rid of bad stuff. Right. Get rid of it for free. You get rid of it for free, and suddenly I don't have to feel bad about spending money on getting rid of something, which is like a classic early block for players who are coming to this genre, where it feels bad to pay money to lose something, even if that thing isn't good, you know?
It's funny. It's so funny you say that. I just started playing, sorry, this is a board game thing, but I just started playing Clank in space with my kids, and it's my first deck building drafting thing with, and like, you know, they totally get all the cards, right? And then you get a card that's like, well, this card says destroy 2 of your cards. Why would I ever want this card? And by about the second or third hand, you're like, oh, right, because I want to get rid of this starting card that's crap now. Right. And actually, these are some of the most powerful cards you can get. And that's why there's so few of them. It's so funny you say that. We just had that like realization.
It's so hard to, totally. And it does that stuff really well. I don't know that I love how it looks, which is a really silly thing. Jan, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
The look of the demons, like when Ben first asked me to like look at this with him, I was like, Monster Train, all right, whatever. And then I saw like the map looks like Slay the Spire, and then like the character designs, like there's something like kind of like, I don't mean this to be disparaging at all, but like mobile game look to it of like the design, and I'm not the most in love with it. Also, some of the angels, like some of them will look very epic, and some of them will look like plumbers.
Yeah, there's definitely some disparities.
I've known some plumbers that are angels. They're very. Hey, listen, when they get that sewage out of your basement, they are angels.
Oh, yeah. God, I've definitely prayed for a plumber before. For sure.
Yes.
No, yeah, I don't. For me, it's not like they've done a bad job so much as like it's just not my theming. It's not my the style of Hell Beast is not the kind that makes me go like, yo, that's a cool Hell Beast. It makes me go like, all right, yeah, I guess I'll pick a different clan next time because these guys look goofy.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I loaded up Slay the Spire before we started here just to like refresh myself because I never played too much of it, and my first thought was like, I do not love the way this looks.
that game too has always been a like, this is totally serviceable and it's getting the job done, but it's not doing
I agree with you with Monster Train. Like, I don't love all of it. I do like the music, actually. I'm surprised. And it like does the nice thing of displaying the track title at the top when you load into a level for the first time.
But overall, it sounds like pretty ringing endorsement.
Yeah. You guys want one of these that looks real good? Let me tell you about Griftlands.
Dude, I haven't played Griftlands in a while, but that game's
good.
Cool.
They've added extra characters. There's like the first 2 characters I think have complete campaigns at this point. Which is the other thing is like it's a story-based one of these that has like branching paths, and that's really fun. I think it's coming to Steam soon. It's on Epic right now. It's coming this month to Steam.
Still in
so don't sleep on Griftlands.
It's real good.
I think it is. It's really good. The fact that it has like combat mechanics and negotiation mechanics, and they're like meaningfully different, and you can kind of focus on one over the other is really cool. So, and it looks cool. I wish there was 30 games that look like this every year. It is 100% my vibe. It's like very cool, battered sci-fi, lived in. That sort of like Star Wars, the good Star Wars
dilapidated
aesthetic,
future.
Yes,
kind of. Yeah, totally.
Exactly that.
And
also
with all the story elements and like all the kind of random character interaction stuff and the decisions that you make, it feels like it's one of those games that feels like it's got a sprawling hidden like interaction table going on where it's keeping track of like, you said this to this person, you pissed this other person off, you didn't pay off that bounty, and like it all kind of comes back at some point, like it all comes up again. It's like, oh well, fuck you didn't do that, like
the moment that you're like, I'm confronting my rival in this bar, and then you realize like, oh shit, everyone I pissed off is in this bar, and they've debuffed me, or they're coming to help the person I'm here to fight. It's like, okay, cool.
A lot of random consequences that seem
that stuff is really good. And I like that game because it's like, it isn't just trying to be Slay the Spire. It is trying to be a different thing inside of this subset of things, which is just good and healthy for the genre, which is a genre. I know that there's a lot of these now, but like this is like, oh, my time has come. Finally, I get a choice of these things.
Yeah. I got real quick. I gotta give it up for Clay, man. Like I remember Shank distinctly, and it was like Shank looks cool, and it's just kind of you stab a bunch of dudes, and then you stab more dudes. You know what I mean? It was like neat. I do. Listen, pretty one note, but to see all the shit that they've done since then, like it's really kind of remarkable.
I'll tell you about a little game called Invisible Ink.
Never heard of it.
It's pretty good. I know as a podcast you should listen to.
One last thing I'll say about Monster Train: if it sounds good to you and you're on the fence, it's on sale for 2 more days for like 20% off.
Okay. Is that Steam?
Yeah.
Steam,
okay.
yeah. Cool.
It's worth checking that out for sure.
Yeah, I will.
We got a video coming soon.
Excellent.
The Clay thing is funny, and it's a total sidebar, but just an interesting thing. It always reminds me how very talented, very smart people who work in this industry, and I'm just going to apply that to Clay. You can just find something that takes hold, like you wouldn't think it. We mentioned Shank, and then all of a sudden, if you're like, well, you can probably talk to a bunch of people that play games, and they will be like, oh, the Don't Starve people, right? Like that is
right.
Like that game, I think, did gangbusters for them in a way that just secured them, and like that has nothing to do with their previous work. Like it's such a different departure. It came out at probably at the right time, right place. But none of that stuff is luck. It is all strategic and smart and creative. But so fun, like.
How many people have squandered that right place, right time thing? Think about all of the games that have hit that are like, wow, this is going to be huge. And then the updates don't come, or they come and they kind of take things in the wrong direction. Like Don't Starve is not my thing, but the job that they did with continuing to expand that game and work with that community seems like it's incredible. So.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that's like, I'm sure I remember doing interviews, Brad, with you, where you were interviewing the guys from Clay, and like, Don't Starve was probably not even on a whiteboard somewhere, and just to have that be the thing that's like, well, we can make games again, like we're financially secure, we can continue to make games. It's just amazing. Sometimes there are just amazing stories in the video game industry that are.
Have we all messed up by not knowing anything about Don't Starve? Like, you know what I mean?
My friends is really into it.
Poked at it
with their friends and play it every day.
I've played it a bit, because it's a crafting game, and it's one of those things that I liked it. I played it early on, and I think it has evolved a lot.
Yeah, but I just feel like sometimes it's like. I know we've talked about this when I used to be there. We always talked about like, oh, there's stuff happening in this industry where millions of people are in love with this thing. And they play other games too, or some of them don't. Some of them only play this one thing. But it feels weird to be like, I don't know anything about that game. I played it when it first came out, when it was in a Google Chrome window. And that's it. And I never touched it again. Yeah. And like, there are all these people for whom that game gave them the lexicon to talk about crafting games, to talk about survival games. And like, I just don't have that shared. I'll talk about Minecraft with you. I'll talk about some other, survival games or whatever. I just don't know it.
That's one that I don't know literally the first thing about it.
I beat myself up over this all the time. I was just telling a friend of mine about this. When I was at Giant Bomb, the Roblox people, Roblox has been out before there was like 2008 or something, I think, when Roblox was first released, maybe 2010, somewhere in there. They emailed me and were like, we would love to come through and talk about Roblox. We're trying to like outreach to more regular gaming outlets. And I don't even know if I talked to you about it, Vinny, but I was like, it seems like there might be something here. It's 2015. It seems like there might be something here, but it's not really our audience. And I almost just wish I'd had the conversation with them, because it was about to become this huge thing for an audience that was not our audience. But just as a curiosity of just like, okay, what do you think comes next for Roblox? You know,
Right.
So-
If it makes you feel any better, I met with Riot, actually, the League of Legends people before that game even went into like beta. Like I played a whole match of that game in a hotel suite, like before it was out, before it was like playable out there. If it makes you feel any better, I don't remember a damn thing about that conversation or anything from that meeting.
Okay, good.
You know, it comes and goes, I guess.
It comes and goes. Yeah. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get the clay. You get the
Yes.
like incredible
Yeah.
conversation before they. Yeah.
Yeah, like the last thing I'll say about them is just I don't think they've made a sequel. Have they made a game with a 2 on the end? I don't think they have. Like they make a different game every time.
I thought wasn't there Shank too?
Shank.
Oh
There
no,
was a
you're
Shank
right.
too.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
think
think
that's
Shank
it,
2.
but that
other
might
than
be
that,
it.
yeah. Other than that, and like granted, they have like a pretty strong strategy bent. I guess like a lot of turn-based stuff. Like a lot of those games fit into a similar bucket, but none of them are
But
exactly.
it would have
the
been
same.
so easy for them to make Mark of the
Mark
Ninja
of the Ninja,
2.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Right.
That's the big
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It's like even Driftlands and Don't Starve and Invisible Ink and Oxygen not included.
Oxygen, yeah.
Like they all have maybe some shared elements,
Yeah.
but they're all pretty different games. Like it's kind of
It's
remarkable.
it's such an interesting studio. Like I was initially drawn to it from the animation and the kind of animation background and the art style, but like hearing you kind of rattle off those games, it really does think. It reminds me of like, oh, if I started a game studio, would you just be like, well, I like this genre. This is the game I want to make in this genre, and then be like, well, I like this genre too. I like ninjas. Let's make the best ninja game, right? Like, like, I love crafting games in this. What if we made one in space with like, like being able to do those different things is and do them well is really impressive. I'm not trying to like talk up Clay, but like it's just they always remind
Welcome
me
to
of
the
studio.
Claycast.
It's just variety. I don't know. It's weird.
Totally.
Yeah, Vinny, what
video
else? You
games.
got anything else going on?
It's funny you mentioned Roblox. I think I'm gonna have to play Roblox
Wait,
with the kids.
Wait, they made a Roblox game?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Finally.
So my son knows more about Roblox and has never played it, just from grade school osmosis.
All
right?
the
Just
YouTubers he follows.
that's right. When he's up late on the iPad, just kind of. And he asked me about it, and he's like, "What about Roblox?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's weird because I always heard like kind of dark things on Roblox about the community, and like I don't know if that's true or not because I've never been on there, so I've always kind of partitioned off. And this, so I don't know. We recently had to, for Animal Crossing, in order for him to be able to go visit my brother and his wife's island, I finally broke down and gave Max and my daughter the online pass for the Switch, right?
Oh.
Which now means he could do things like upload levels in Mario Maker, which means it opens up a whole world, right? And the parental controls there are okay if you got to keep on top of it, though. But like, I don't know, maybe it's time for him. He's 8. Maybe it's time for him to start engaging with online stuff. Should he be playing Minecraft online with other people? Is like, are we there yet? I feel like these are big. These are big. Right? These are big steps.
Don't worry, that's what friend codes are for. He'll be fine.
Well, that's what friend codes and no way to voice chat are for, I guess, right? So games wise, not to stay on that path, but it is. I've been just spending a lot of the kids are home, obviously, spending a lot of time playing games with the kids. They're on their 3rd run of Luigi's Mansion. They just beat that, so it'll be their 4th run of Luigi's Mansion. And they call me in fewer and fewer times for the bosses, which is amazing. Like my son and my daughter. Yeah, it's really. I get kind of frustrated with them. I say they'll be like, my son will usually give up and be like, "Dad, I can't beat the pool boss," right? I'll be like, "Well, how long did you try?" "Oh, I've tried like a million times." And be like, I'm gonna set a timer. I'm gonna set it for 5 minutes. Like, try it again. And I'll be like, "We beat it." Be like, "All right." And then so sometimes I'll be like, just try for. So the other day I was downstairs. And he came down. He's like, "Dad." I was like, "Oh, well, okay. What do you need me to beat now?" He's like, "Dad, I need your help." "What?" And he's like, "In celebrating beating King Boo." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Man,
Like, we beat it by ourselves.
He was a Caravella.
That's very cute. That's very good.
He got you.
He got me good. So we were playing that. He's now trying to make a run
Dad,
through.
I need your help. What's up? Can you pick up his purse?
I did. I don't know what it did do. I picked it up. I don't know what it does. Gotcha. He's playing Link's Awakening again. That I think might be too tough for him. Some of that stuff. So I'm gonna try and see if we can get through that. And for myself personally, I did the thing that everybody's been doing. I did a Jackbox online through Discord, and that was a lot of fun. Played that with some friends and family. And I'll tell you what, it works. Like everybody says, it does, and it's a very fun thing. And I had too much whiskey, so that was my night. I haven't been playing too much else myself. It's hard to play. There's only like a window at night, and just at the end of the day, I'm exhausted because I can't necessarily play a lot. Or I try to avoid playing stuff that's too violent in front of the kids still, and also they want to play. If I'm on a machine,
right, they're
like, well, I want to play, right? And it's not like, all right, well, let's all play Doom together. I will switch off. So there's. That's it.
You ever play the work card on them? It's just like, look, this is my job. Like, get out of here.
No, they play that on me. You play video games all day. I'm like, oh my gosh, go post it in the freaking forum. Because sometimes I would wake up before school. We're getting up early, like 7 or whatever, and I'd jump on. I don't do it anymore, but I'd jump on Animal Crossing to go check the turnip prices or something, right? Be like, how come you get to play? I was like, because I don't get to play later, right? You get to play all day, and I don't get to play later. I'm like, whatever, Dad. You play video games all day.
These quick looks are like 2 hours long.
Yeah. Quick look.
It's right there. It's right there on the screen, Dad.
Can't believe you missed that button prompt. I'm like, okay, get out of here.
Too real.
Go to bed. Go to your room.
I will just say real quick because you mentioned turnips.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think I'm in maintenance mode on that game.
Yeah, me too.
I only bought 2.
Really?
I only bought 2 bricks this weekend, and I think that's like a good number for. I don't need it. I just want it.
You just want it. Yeah, totally. I dropped to 1 brick. I dropped to 1 brick last week. This week I didn't buy any. It's fine. What do I need the money for? I don't need the bells. What do I need the bells for? I moved my bridges.
I'll tell you what you need the bells for. It's blowing up every ramp, moving it over a little bit, saying no, I don't like it, and then blowing it up again. Because that's where I'm at. I took like a solid 2 weeks off of Animal Crossing. My partner was still playing it, but then I came back and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get into terraforming. I'm gonna get into waterscaping. I switched up, or I got the Nintendo Online app so I can scan the QR codes for custom ground patterns and everything. I'm full on in, but I just realized I'm the kind of person, I'm the kind of writer or whatever that I will tinker with my own stuff up until the deadline. Turns out that's not a great person to be for designing your own little fantasy island.
Yeah. I wish there was a mode that was like, do it all. Are you happy with this? Yes or no?
Because you need to wait a day.
Yeah.
Demolish a bridge, wait a day, build it again, wait a day, demolish it again, wait a day.
You can't even do 2 different. You can't even be like, I'm demolishing bridge A and then I'm building a new bridge over here, bottom left of the map, C. No, we're busy demolishing that bridge. Like, no, you're not. You're not doing anything right now. I'm here. I'm at bridge C. No one's here.
I paid Lloyd. Lloyd calls me buddy. He took care of it.
He took care of it.
Any of you guys sharing an island? Because I'm not
broken. Yes, it is a broken game. Yeah. It is a broken game that should get 1 star, and then also it's a great game that should get 5 stars.
That's kind of where I'm at with that game. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I play that. It's my son's island. He got the game on his birthday. It's called Birthday. It's Birthday Island. He doesn't really play it, and then I'm literally in the same day over and over again because nothing can progress unless I log in as him to go talk. I'm at the point now where the person visiting the island in the tent, and they won't move in if I talk to them. So the same character there for 3 weeks.
They should let you hold elections for who the resident representative is. I want to bring democracy to this island, or at least let you share it. At least just let whoever the current resident rep is just toggle it. Just let you do it.
Option. Just let me be like, hey, you can only do this once a month or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just let me be the representative, please. There was a point where I was playing that game because you can have 2 people playing locally at the same time. There's a point where I would just have 2 controllers in my hand and run around as my son's character with me in tow, and then do the thing, and then switch back to my character, and then do the thing. It was like
a little shake to change the
shake, and then be like, there's so many. I've talked a lot about this on the Beastcast, but so many things. You can't do construction projects. You can't do any of this stuff until it's unlocked. And then I would just be like, well, I'm not giving you all my money. So dropping money on the floor, dropping it. It's just like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah. They could maybe add an option so that you can connect to the internet once at the start of it, and not every time you want to do something that involves the internet,
Have you guys ever used Turnip Exchange? Have you ever gone through the rigmarole of visiting strangers' islands with
I spent like 6 hours in that queue.
3 other people? Dude, we don't have to get into it, but the game is just so archaic and fucking bizarre with that stuff. And like,
truly,
it could be my probable game of the year at this point if it weren't for all the bullshit. I don't know.
Even using the app to scan codes, you can only hold one in there at a time. So you have to scan it, get your Switch, download it, assign it to a spot, and then scan another one, load it to your Switch. Like
it's so much.
It's interesting because I genuinely think there's a degree to which like inconvenience is the part of the magic of that game. Sure. It's trying to replicate the feeling of mundane frustration sometimes. Not all the time, but I think here's my like grand thesis on Animal Crossing New Horizons is past Animal Crossing games really leaned into inconvenience. You go back to like original Animal Crossing, people were rude to you in that game way more than they are here. It was even harder. There were things you just can't do, right? You couldn't place a house for somebody. You couldn't decide where the bridges were. Like those things were just out of your control. This game gives you way more control on a lot of that stuff. You couldn't download. I don't believe you could download tiles from other users in the last game. You couldn't visit their islands and get their fruit, or you could visit like a dream version of their islands in New Leaf, but you couldn't go to their actual islands and like get all the fruit you don't have on day one the way you could here. There's all sorts of new flexibility in this game, and a weird way that makes all of the stumbling blocks hurt even more because it's so close to just being kind of an open field of possibility. And so now whenever there is some new restriction, it stings even more because you're balancing the kind of like open-endedness of all the new systems with a lot of the restrictiveness of the old stuff that it just doesn't feel as quaint. It mostly just feels like it gets in the way. I don't know.
What you're saying is the Animal Crossing franchise is just a metaphor for progress.
Yeah, that's right.
It's difficult and imperfect and long in coming.
2 step forwards, 1 step back.
But you keep working at it. You keep pushing.
Yeah.
But I think next console. I think the thing that like burns me is like, it's a multi-user console with discrete profiles and no memory cards, right? So that you can't just like, hey, put your island in and let's go. And I feel like they didn't adjust for that. I mean, there was one on the Wii or the Wii U. I'm not a huge Animal Crossing person, but like, at least I feel like, in this one, I have to buy the game again if I want, and I have to not only buy the game again, I think I had to buy a Switch. If I want to
have another island, you absolutely have to buy another Switch. Also, as far as I can tell, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, you cannot move your original character off of that original island.
No, I think that's true.
You would have to start from scratch on everything.
So you could like launder your stuff by leaving it out.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. And then come back through.
Okay.
But it's not the same. Your house back that way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I think if you talk to Red, he can take care of things for you. He told me I could trust him.
But that's the thing, though, right? It's like, and then the game is, here is this cool fox who sells you counterfeit paintings. There's a lot of character.
I love that.
It's great. That stuff is just so good, and it's like,
I even like I don't think we talked about it, but there was the Museum Day event, and I wasn't paying attention to it for most of it. I heard from like instantly the reaction on Twitter was like, "Oh, there's nothing here. It's completely pointless." Which, if you're like the kind of person who is on Twitter talking about Animal Crossing every day, I could see that point of view. But like, since I had taken some time off with it, I came back to it and I just was like, oh, this is an excuse to walk around. Wow, I really have caught a lot of stuff. Like, the little facts they wrote were kind of bad. But like, it was still it was a nice de-stressor, just walking through my museum and looking at all the stuff, getting the little stamp cards. It made me remember the actual times I would go to real museums and do that, which obviously we can't do right now.
Open. Yeah. I will say I was a detractor from the egg event. I know not everyone was. Some people like the egg stuff. I hated it. I've been very happy to see that the events since then have taken on different types of character and different sorts of. There were different events. What was the May Day event that was like Eventide Island, but for Animal Crossing. Love it. Incredible.
Did anybody get all the tickets?
No,
yes, absolutely.
Man, no.
Yeah,
I fucked up
one
round.
You just restart it.
No.
You can call the guy to parachute you out, and then
I think I got all the
restart it.
tickets, but I missed like one of the little extra things you needed a tree to get or whatever.
It doesn't matter. It was
Oh,
like
I know.
2,000 bells each.
Oh,
right?
totally,
Like,
totally.
which
It's
is
just
like
a
the right thing.
sense of accomplishment because it is one of the coolest things they've done in that game so far.
Yeah,
Totally.
totally. So that stuff was good. So I'm happy to. I think that they're going to continue to do really good events this year, which is exciting to have a thing to check in on like that. So
Yeah.
Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Austin, can I ask your opinion on a game that I have wanted to play but I have not finished
Yes.
yet? Chimera Squad.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
pro Chimera Squad.
Okay, so you've liked it.
I liked it a lot. I beat
Okay.
it. I beat like it was the game when that game came out. I was like, I'm gonna beat this game. Like I'm going. This is it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 25 hours. Maybe that's 5 hours too long, but I like that first 20 hours a lot. It's buggy. There's some stuff, or at least the build that I was playing when it first came out was pretty buggy. Jan, I don't know if you've hit things where like I've had characters just locked down. Like I can't move the character anymore.
I had hard freezes like a couple times, which was kind of a bummer.
So have you
totally.
beaten it as well, Jan?
Negative. It was buggy enough for me personally that I just couldn't keep playing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a game that has really interesting changes for the XCOM franchise. I like that they're trying stuff out. It's very clearly not XCOM 3, and it's not even XCOM 2.5. Like it is its own thing. For people who don't know, who haven't played it or seen footage, like the turn order is completely different. Instead of going instead of going one whole side and the other whole side, you're in kind of interlaced order.
It's like an initiative order almost. It's wild how much it changes everything.
Well, like so much of what you do is like how do I kill the person who's coming up next, or how do I detain, because you were playing as super cops in this game, not to make it too timely, but that is that game. And if in this moment you're like, I don't really feel like playing a game about cops, let me tell you, this is a game about cops.
That's very real.
It is very real.
I stopped watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I was just like, I enjoy the show, but I literally cannot watch a show.
Let me take a breath. Yeah. I think for what it's worth, I think the game does some interesting stuff with the police procedural. I don't know. It's not like I'm not like, yo, that game is so woke. Like that's not what I'm saying. but I think that what it does is take a premise that's very fascinating, which is here is an occupied a world that was up until very recently occupied by aliens. Sorry for the XCOM 2 spoilers. And
I was just about to beat it.
I'm sorry. What do you do after? What do you do after an occupation? For me, it's like don't build a super police force. But if it's too late for that, they've done it. And what do you do with a city that is struggling to knit together these different populations? All of which have been on various sides of this thing. Some of which were oppressed humans who had been, under
mind
the
controlled,
and mind controlled aliens. There's an alien on your squad who was just a torturer for the aliens, who is joining you because she's like, no, I like what I do. I'll do it for you. Fuck it. And you're like, you suck. But also, can you take care of that dude over there for me?
So I guess that's another big part too for folks who don't know is they're pre-scripted characters. They are they are unique characters. I don't know how many are there. 8 in total?
More than that.
More than that?
You can get 8 on your squad total, I want to say, but there's probably 12.
Okay, wow. There was something about the tone that in the early stuff was just not clicking for me, and I was hoping that maybe it gets better, but it was like almost too flip or goofy. Like for like the banter was almost like too like cracking a joke and be like, we're kind of busting in here and take your job seriously.
The thing that ended up being, there were some moments there's a lot of good setting writing in that game and like loading screens of just like interviews from people in the city about the times when they had been occupied or the radio show dialogue in the background is very good. It has that like, this is the stuff that would be on this radio, like conspiracy theory stuff or people debating about gentrification in this city. Stuff like that is very fun and like I think pretty sharp. And I think it goes some interesting places with like the basic campaign is that there are 3 organizations that you're investigating and then collapsing in on. One, I'll say I didn't feel too bad about going after some of those groups. There are the sorts of groups in there I wish we put more resources into going after because they're like they're the sci-fi equivalent of like white supremacist groups, right? One of them is like actually pretty sad by the end of it, and you're like, oh fuck, this doesn't feel too good. But the storytelling around that stuff is like pretty good. And what I ended up feeling like I was playing, and this is the best pitch I can make for this game, is the Mass Effect XCOM game I never got, because
Mm.
you bust into a room and then you have someone do a biotic lift.
Yeah.
It very much feels like Citadel Tactics. Like that is a lot of those abilities feel very Mass Effect-y. A lot of the relationship, like there's a scientist dude or a psychic guy on your team who just feels like he's Mordin. Like his voice acting is just Mordin Solus. And that scratches a certain itch for me. Again, I played that game 5 weeks ago. Maybe if I
Okay.
booted it up today, I would not feel the same about some of it. Because some of those wounds are a little more tender, let's say.
Yes.
But I liked it when I played
Okay,
it, and
interesting.
and I'm more interested in seeing how they try new gameplay stuff going forward. I'm so curious if this stuff will be
Right.
in XCOM 3 or if this was like an internal prototype that they were like, nah, put it in this, you know.
I would assume they'll take what they thought worked and put it into it somehow. Interesting. Okay, yeah. I will probably kind of similarly get to it maybe someday.
Give it some time.
Yeah, give it a little time. I'll stick with the Link's Awakening and Luigi's Mansions with the kids.
Get that fourth run going.
Yeah,
Try to
that's right.
fix-
Those crystals aren't going to find themselves.
Fix a few bugs and a few societal problems before you get back. Wow.
Totally.
All right, that's a big stack of video games. That's more than
Can I
expected.
shout out one last
Yes.
thing, and I will not go long on it.
Yes.
But speaking of video games that are like that actually do directly talk about this stuff, or sort of directly, I have to shout out this game called Umurangi Generation, UMURANGI, which is what's the Tereo, I believe, is the name of the language for the Maori people, and it's a Maori developed game. I think there's one lead dude who was like the creative director on it. The pitch on it is that it's a photography game in which you're going from level to level, kind of dense. They're a mix of levels, but they're all kind of like dense, near future New Zealand in the middle of some strange events without getting too spoilery. The vibe is very Jet Set Radio. It's like, what if there was a Jet Set Radio photography game? The music is incredible. And as the game unfolds and you get more of what's going on, I mean, the vibe is like you and your friends are hanging out, and also there's some UN guys here with guns. What's going on? The developer has, in interviews and kind of preview interviews, the developer talked about how Umurangi is a Tereo for Red Sky, a reference to the bushfires in in Australia and I believe in New Zealand also. I'm actually not 100% sure if those were also in New Zealand, but the idea of like, hey, are we facing the end of the world? Eventually there will be a generation that looks up and sees Red Sky and has to confront they could be the last generation. And one of the ways in which they'll be able to live is through creating new culture, through creating new things, photography, art. So this is a game that's like filled with people who have like cool graffiti on the walls, or there's lots of great fake movie posters. And the basic gameplay is just you get a list of things you need to take photos of. So it'll be like, hey, take a photo of this monument, take a photo of this mountain, take a photo of 4 of these feather icons that are spray painted on the walls or painted on the walls. And it's like, okay, how do I get a composition in this first person game where I get 4 of them in a single shot? How do I get a picture of all of my friends when they're standing in different parts of the level? So to some degree, it's almost like a platformer in moments where you're like, okay, how do I get to a good angle to this? What can I jump on to get to like a better position or whatever? Also, the game doesn't tell you this, but you have a double jump, and it's very important to use it and to do like jump, like quick jumps, like the Warlock in Destiny. It's an important tip. Yeah. And it's just like the story that ends up unfolding without any dialogue is kind of moving and kind of scary. It ends up pulling in some visual language from, let's say, one of the most popular anime of all time, which is about as good of a tease as I can give without going too far into spoiler territory. And it has just like some remarkable just visual design throughout the whole thing. Also, it's just fun to take pictures. And I think in a moment where I can't go into the city, being in these kind of like cyberpunk near future urban environments where people are celebrating and dancing and yelling "fuck the cops" is actually very like this is an experience that other people have, this feeling of unity in the face of occupation in the face of oppression is really, really, really cool and powerful. And I just need to tell you again, it has the best soundtrack. It's so good. Again, it's called Umurangi Generation, UMURANGI. It's on Steam. I want to
Looks
say
like there's a free demo.
There's a free demo. Download the demo. The demo will tell you if you like this game or not. There were some things I think are issues. Like I could nitpick about like field of view or whatever, but you play the demo. If you like it, buy the game.
I want to also call out I finally played for the first time Tabletop Simulator.
Oh
yeah.
For real with like instead of just getting in there and flipping the table over with chess pieces, like that which is what I did, I don't know, 27 years ago when I first loaded that thing up. But I played it for real. It was great. And also I was able to play with Timur and Michael over from GameSpot. They're doing their Play for All stuff, and kind of wanted to shout that out as well. Their schedule is on their page over at GameSpot.com.
Yes,
and they're doing a lot of great charity work there as well.
We also have just a little article I put up yesterday about the Bombcast, but there is a link to all of their Play for All stuff in there, and
yes,
and the charity campaign that they are running for that. So
if you want to see, Ben
Abby get extremely mad
about letters and yo-yos.
Abby. So good at that game, so good at all the Clue crew. And we played Deception, and it was like she's on it immediately. She's just like, I figured it all out. I got it. I know exactly who did it. I know what the thing was. And she gets so frustrated with it, which so fun. It's understandable, and it's a good thing there's a flip the table button in there. But that game is Tabletop Simulator. That's a weird thing, man. Talk about some gray area. There is some Steam Workshop stuff going on there that is very good.
People straight up had a Lightning McQueen card at one point and an old PS4.
That's just in the game, but like people are just scanning the cards from game. There are official games that you can get for it, and then Steam Workshop things where people are doing amazing work. Imagine deck games where there are hundreds, if not thousands, of cards, and they're scanning in all the cards to put in the game and scripting it. It's amazing work. I hope it continues.
When
it
I
seems
played
like
Hungry Hippos, they had to get all 4 of those hippos in there.
Yeah,
it was just the work there.
They had to scan in every marble. Anyway,
and they get the hippos to sign off. The hippos had to say my likeness rights.
The green one was just holding out. They didn't want to get 3 of them. So
yeah.
Do you know those hippos have names?
No, Pinky, Blinky, Winky, and
now you're going to tell me that the ghosts in Pac-Man have names.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the hippos have names. I wish I could remember them.
Hippo names. I'm on it. Listen, I need to know. All right, here we go. Okay, you have to tell me which color you think these hippos are. Which one do you think? Okay,
what are the 4 colors?
Uh,
All right, we actually have there's an issue here.
Okay,
because there were 4 hippos in the original version of the game, and a later edition replaced one of them with a different one.
That hippo, we don't talk about what happened with that hippo.
Then there's 3 variations. I'll give you the originals.
Okay.
Lizzie hippo. And again, the colors are, I'm going to mix them up in my head. All right. Orange, green, purple, and yellow.
Lizzie's yellow.
Lizzie's purple.
Purple.
Oh, green.
Purple is right. Lizzie is purple. We have 2 out of 4 here.
Okay.
Harry hippo.
Ooh. We got purple, green, red, and blue. Is that right?
Yellow.
Yellow.
No, purple, green, orange, and yellow. Purple's out. We know purple is down.
Orange.
Don't give it to the colorblind guy. Doesn't remember. Orange.
Is it Harry,
unfortunately, Harry.
Oh, you already said unfortunately, so I'm not going to go orange.
It's not orange.
It's orange, Vinny.
I don't know if Harry doesn't sound like yellow, but I'll just say yellow.
It's yellow. I agree with you. I'm surprised that they went with that. I don't know. Maybe it's a different time. Harry had a different evocation. I don't know. The final 2 here, I was giving both of you, and you can decide. One of them is green. One of them is orange. Homer hippo.
Wow.
And Henry hippo.
Homer's not yellow.
Henry has to be green.
Why? What's your reasoning?
Henry sounds like a green name. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like a Henry likes broccoli, and broccoli's green.
Oh, yeah, that's a good case.
That checks out. Yeah.
Hank loves a little broccoli.
It's incorrect. Homer hippo is green. And I'm just going to read you the new names. Lizzie was replaced with Happy in a later edition. Get out of here, Lizzie. Happy you're here.
Hippo.
Happy Hippo. Bad name.
Can't be
Then
happy
the
and
fall-
hungry.
The fall 2009 North American edition of the game has a lighter blue base with pastel-colored versions of the hippos, Sweetie Potamus,
Mm-hmm.
Bottomless Potamus,
Oh.
Veggie Potamus,
Uh-huh.
and Picky Potamus.
Yeah. My
I think it's like
favorite.
that's what they like to eat, is my guess. They're like, this
Why
is a
would you ever
picky
pick
eater.
Picky? The goal of the game is to eat,
to eat
all
everything.
of the orbs, and they're all identical.
there is something about the meeting where those had to be decided on that was probably amazing, or it was terrible, like people storming out. It has to be Potamus at the end.
Bottomless.
It has to be Bottomless Potamus. That's definitely, they had one good one. So I was like, Bottomless Potamus. That's great. Let's do that. Yeah, we signed off on Jim's idea, the Potamus thing. That's
Jim's
great.
give up with all four. It's great. He's got the one.
What
Like,
else-
got
what
the
else you
one.
got? You got 5
Right,
minutes.
but it was really Jim's kid that said it, so he just goes home and it's like, I need 3 more. Give me 3 more. Picky Potamus. Okay, this is gold. This is good. This is all good.
Just drink this 2-liter of Mountain Dew and start talking. All right. All right. Yeah, we talked about some games. I wasn't expecting
we talked
there
about
to be
some
a lot of
games.
stuff to talk about, but
Turns out.
that was a hell of a segment on video games. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and get into some news. I should make it fade to black now.
Yes, please.
All right, we're back, and you guys finding it hard to walk up and down stairs these days? I just ran downstairs to grab a delivery during the break, and boy, that lack of exercise, lack of going places for like 2 months. Holy shit! Anyway, talk amongst yourselves. I'm just catching my.
I rode a bike for the first time in years yesterday, and I've never felt more alive. Just the smallest, slightest incline, and I was able to power through it. And then afterwards, my heart wanted to burst out of my chest.
Yes.
I was like, yes!
Yeah. I know. I mean, this is not everybody's experience, but if you live in a city, I always took for granted how much like my commute on foot was counted as exercise, I guess.
Yeah.
Until I stopped doing it for a couple months, and now I'm. Yeah. Anyway. All right. How about we get into the news for the week? I have some
I'd love
headlines
to.
here. Well, great.
Let's do it.
Excellent. Not a ton this week. I mean, this was supposed to be the week that kind of, not E3, but like E3-esque stuff was going to be popping off. Like, I'm trying to think, I guess since last week's Bombcast, they announced that PlayStation 5 reveal, right? And then have since delayed it.
Yes.
So that would have been the kind of big story of the week, is that tomorrow we were going to see some kind of reveal of the PlayStation 5, although they didn't really say what, right? Like, it's kinda
it was still pretty ambiguous. They talked about games.
I feel like there was some quote out there that said something along the lines of like, we're not going to show everything, like we're not going to give you the full info dump or something like that. I think it sounded like more of a games focused thing, something like that. But in light of current events, they have postponed that event until a later date to be determined. So stay tuned for that. But there's some PS5 news swirling around out there. GamesIndustry.biz did this interview with Jim Ryan. And like the big news out of that, like he talks a lot about the effect of COVID-19, and remember that?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Y'all remember the murder hornets that were
Yeah, right.
sweeping the nation?
There's all this stuff still happening right in the background. But anyway, whatever. There's a lot of businessy talk in there about like, supply chain and like people not being able to go to China to check production lines and et cetera, in there. But, they're still sticking with, hey, we're getting the PS5 out this year. The only real like newsy news type stuff out of this thing is they draw a contrast to, there's the Microsoft policy of like all the games we put out for the first like however 18 months or something also will run on the old console. Sounds like Sony is taking the opposite tack, which is kind of the big like headline here. I am going to find that quote real fast. Jim Ryan says, we have always said that we believe in generations. We believe that when you go to all the trouble of creating a next-gen console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include, and that in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. We do believe in generations, and whether it's the DualSense controller, 3D audio, the multiple ways the SSD can be used, we are thinking that it is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can only be enjoyed on PS5. That's
some good spin to put on it. That ball's got some curve, right? That's like it's benefiting me. Like, oh, okay, no, you're doing this for me, so I can have a better console experience. Like, that's some good work being put in there. It's a crafted statement.
Is that where we are? Does that need to be spun yet? That like the new games only run on the new thing? Like, I mean, obviously Microsoft is going the other direction, but like,
I think when you're in contrast to being able to go for Microsoft to be able to go out there and be like, we're launching with 1 million games, right? And being like, look, you buy this thing, you play whatever you want on it, right? Or like all your old games, your new games, whatever games, Atari games, whatever it is, like. I think you got to get out there and be like, "What? Well, then what about this thing?" And be like, "Well, our game." You just what does he say? He says, "Our games are new," right? Our games. What
was the quote when the Xbox One was originally debuted, and people were like, "Hey, this is expensive."
We have a console for you.
We have a console for you.
It's called the Xbox 360.
Yeah, this is a much softer version of that.
Kinda, sure,
right? It's like, listen, sorry, like we have the PS4.
Yeah, we'll vote for the other
playing
guy.
that, which I guess that hit me deep, Ben.
I wanted nobody doing that.
No, I'm sorry. That would actually land a little bit better though if also in this piece, Ryan had not said like, yeah, we had to pay a little more attention to the PS4 community.
That quote kind of raised my eyebrow for sure.
That we thought we were going
right.
And it was like nuzzled next to a little photo of the PS4 with the caption, PS4 sales have spiked during quarantine.
Right, like I hit that quote and I was like, wait, what were you planning to do before this all happened? Like,
the quote is, we realized a couple of months ago that we were going to have to spend a lot more time paying attention to the PS4 community than we had anticipated, as that community, along with everybody else in the world, went into lockdown. Which I get it. In other words, like your servers are going to get hit a little bit harder. A lot of people are paying attention. Like I don't want to take it out of context. I get the context that he's putting it in.
Yeah.
But also,
you're right. He did clarify part of that was like, we need to make sure the PlayStation Network stays up right now because everybody's stuck at home and wants to use it because they can't do anything else. So like, that is fair.
So I think the thing to me with that, the kind of pull that the whole generation thing is, it presents an argument that you can't have both, right? That you can't have a game that is cross generational without being better on a better platform, right? And I think Microsoft is trying to make the case that some of these games will be better on the Series X and also will be able to be played on either console. So I don't know. And that's a real shoulder shrug for me, because until you see what those improvements are, right? Or until you see how it runs better, what it looks like, it's hard to say who's got the better argument, right? I am kind of in favor of like, man, if I'm buying a new console, I want all the bells and whistles. Make this just for this console. Don't compromise.
I don't ever want to have to shimmy through a canyon again while the game loads in more assets. Ever.
That's right. I want to leave behind, and I want an uncompromised new console. I want to leave all the cruft behind from the previous generation. But but man, but then you tell me like, oh, I could also take all this old stuff and play it on my, I'm there too. So like, and you tell me that you're going to give me that and it's going to be a new console with all the bells and whistles. Like, it's a big sell, and we haven't seen it yet, but I could be on board.
The thing for me is like, is kind of two things here. One is, if I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars on a PS5, I'd love to put the PS4 away, even if I want to get back to a game that I didn't get to this cycle or whatever. And the other half of this is, if they are, here's my, have they said if they're doing crossplay at all with any of this stuff?
I don't think
Have
so.
they been clear about it?
So
like, if I buy,
very vague about a lot of that stuff.
If I buy Last of Us 2 at the end of the month, am I going to be expected to in a year buy Last of Us 2 Definitive Edition on PS5 to get whatever those improvements that are built for that generation of console hardware look like? Like, is that the expectation? To again buy an HD remake?
Yeah, I don't think they've codified that yet.
here's the thing: that game isn't going to not have the squeeze through the cave thing, even though it doesn't need it to load assets, because it's been built to have a conversation happening while you're squeezing through that cave, and they're not going to pull that out probably. So I get it, but also for this specific moment of like the kind of cross generational thing, I just let people buy the thing and play the games that they just bought on the previous generation, and maybe they will do that. This could be a blank space in my head. Maybe I just don't know. But this interview, I don't see anywhere in it where he says, "Hey, if you just spent $200 on PS4 games this year, don't worry. When you buy your PS5, you're not going to have to drag your PS4 back out or leave it hooked up to keep playing them." You know.
Yeah.
So what is the official? Because I feel like I got some conflicting information. Maybe I haven't had my ear to the news on this stuff. Because it has been announced that it's backwards compatible, right? The PS5 will be
asterisk.
So what does that mean?
Oh, just PS4.
That's true. Just PS4.
I don't think they ever came out and said PS1 through like those rumors have been around forever, right? But I don't think they ever addressed that.
Okay, so those are still just rumors then, but just PS4 is confirmed. So that means you can play a PS4 game, but it's a PS4 game.
It's a PS4 game. I don't think
the big difference we're talking about here, right? It's not.
They've said now that you've like given me a jump start, like
the 100 games thing, right?
And that was misunderstood, right?
Okay. Yes.
I think
the 100 games thing was Sony said.
Yes.
We there's a boosted mode again, just like the PS4 Pro, and we are confident through our testing of the 100 most popular PS4 games, we'll get a benefit from that. Right. But what he meant by that was, and also we suspect the rest will also get a boost from it. We're still doing testing, but that is a system-wide thing. That is not just a these 100 games thing, right?
I believe that's the case. That is my understanding of the whole thing. Yes.
So what he's talking about specifically here is PS5 games or PS5 games. We're not making PS5, PS4 games where Microsoft is saying, hey, buy the game on either your Xbox One or the Series X. You'll be able to play it on either.
We don't know. Have they said Halo Infinite is coming to Xbox One?
Yes, that one. I believe
that's a good example.
Very flat out said this will be on both.
Right. So that's the big distinction, right? That's I just want to. I feel like the devil's in the details there, and like just making sure that So let's just say Horizon Zero. Horizon One Dawn, whatever they call it.
Horizon Zero Afternoon. Horizon One Afternoon.
That if that comes out on PS5, you're not getting that on PS4, and that's basically, I think, the statement he's making is because we're going to develop that natively for the PS5, and it won't be there.
Yes.
Okay.
I get that. I do get that.
Yeah. Right. So I kind of get that, but like also, I mean, I think there's a really good consumer gesture on the Microsoft side, being like, we know a lot of you have Xbox Ones. You're going to want these games. We'll give you a path forward. Yes, if you're still on the fence, you don't have the console yet, but you bought the game. There's a clear path forward to get there. We're going to kind of bring you with us on this one.
And they've really communicated that to people. Like they've been ready with every one of those features with like a nice marketing approved name for you. It's like it's got Play Anywhere and Smart Delivery and like just like nice rolls off the tongue type stuff.
A little bit. I mean, I think the messaging is getting out there. I feel like the branding maybe is getting. There's a lot of buzzwords getting tossed around. Sure. So I feel like, but yeah, the messaging that I feel like is penetrating is, and I think it's the core that they want is, we'll have a path for you.
Right.
Like you take your stuff with you, which is just so we talked a little bit about this on the hotspot, which is just so different than where they were at the launch of the Xbox One. Just so far away.
The metric difference.
Really though.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like this is kind of a tie-in to that story. This is behind the scenes reporting. This is not anything that Sony itself has said, but I believe it's Eurogamer that ran this. Basically, people are starting to get a look at developer documentation for the PS5, and they have gotten a look at some wording that says anything submitted to Sony for approval after July 13th is required to run on the PlayStation 5. Anything submitted for the PS4 after July 13th, which is not the Last of Us 2, not Ghost of Tsushima, because those games will be out before that.
Wait.
Yes.
This headline is new PS4 games must also run on PlayStation 5 from July, right?
Yes.
This is the opposite of what we just read from Jim Ryan.
Well, this is backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
this is
basically saying like,
If you're still
I
making
see, I
PS4
see, I
games,
see.
we're gonna have 100 games, but now we're gonna have 100 plus after
Right.
July,
Yes.
whatever.
Although, like,
So what he is saying is, if you have a PS4 version of
yes,
a game,
yes,
if you're making
Yeah.
a PS4 game, it needs to be able to run on PS5.
Yeah,
But if you're making a PS5 native game,
that's right.
don't make it make it on the PS4 where it scales
Yeah.
up. Make it just for the PS5.
although to be fair, he didn't come out and
take
say
advantage-
that.
not
and
to
take
understand here.
advantage.
This is all very clear and concise.
Right.
Simple messaging.
Also, to be
I
fair,
think this-
he didn't even come out and say that third parties can't do that. I think he was just
You're
talking
right.
about fruit, right? Because you
You're
could
right.
totally there could totally be an Assassin's Creed Valhalla for PlayStation 4, and they did that last time, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little muddy.
I mean, I guess I kind of get. I mean, he's basically saying there will be no uncompromised, watered down version of a native PS5 game, right?
Right.
Like that's. I mean, that's what he wants you to take away from that. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna play this amazing thing on this amazing tech, whereas maybe Microsoft is saying like you'll play the version that you have for the console for,
Yeah.
and like that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in their defense, we're like barely even getting into kind of big reveal season,
Yeah.
right? Like they
Totally.
haven't even really had the chance to shoot their shot yet. Like for all we know, they could have been planning to spell a lot of this stuff out tomorrow.
I mean,
before-
there's
I don't
so
know why, but a lot of this messaging is getting me a little anxious about price point. This is a lot of stuff that's like value proposition. It's a lot of stuff that's like, when you make the plunge, it'll be worth it. And, the conversations they were having earlier of like, we still don't know what the price is going to be, but we're going to work on it and make it affordable.
Mhm.
I don't know.
you will not want to get a second job to pay for this. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, dude.
And we've got so
yeah.
much.
We should
we've got
do
so much left.
do a history of that's a good hotspot topic is just a history of botched console messaging.
Yeah.
Arrogant
Yeah.
console messaging of the past.
Just to be 100% clear, this is nowhere near as confusing or bad as that rollout was.
No.
Just to be
No.
100% clear.
Oh, yes. Anyway. Let's see. Microsoft put out a big thing about their backwards compatibility on the Xbox Wire, where they make a bunch of announcements, basically touting a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing. It's kind of in like direct contrast to what Sony's doing, right? Of like, well, we've tested 100 games and like we think the rest will work, and et cetera, et cetera. And like Microsoft's over here talking about like hard numbers and like big numbers of games, and talking about like doubling performance in a lot of the games that they're doing, like using like brand new HDR through machine learning and stuff like that. Like they are really going for it on this like make our old games run and run better front.
It's again, I think it's a really interesting the fact sheet, right? Like the one sheet you would get with the console, all the stuff that sounds really good. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I can't wait to see what their learning algorithm for HDR is, or what the I don't know. I'm not. I always say this. I'm not a developer. I've never had to solve these problems. But some games, some games you can't just make the frame rate faster. Yeah. It breaks the cycles of the game, and it breaks down. I'm sure they're taking that into account.
Yeah.
They're very smart engineers and stuff over there. But I'm curious. It's all very. It sounds great. All of this stuff sounds great. But I do want to see it.
I wonder if any of it will be optional.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Only because like a lot of they give a lot of technical stuff here. They also use a lot of like big rhetoric. Like there's the subheader on this thing, like advancing the state of the art of game preservation.
Yeah, that
And,
seems
like,
like a.
That's I will happily boot up Phantom Dust on the Xbox and like be like, yeah, cool HDR. That's sick, bro. But also for me, part of what game preservation should include the ability to play something the way it was released or as close to that. And I know that's like an imaginary thing because the way that was released was I was in a dorm room when that came out and I had some Pringles and was going through a breakup. And so like that part of that release is gone. But the part of it where it runs at a certain
You
frame
can get
rate.
more Pringles.
A word? They still got those? Damn, I gotta go get some Pringles. That part, the part of it of like the technical quality stuff, being able to also play it in that way would be good. And I always hope with this stuff that we don't like, especially with machine learning. Have y'all seen any of the like fan patches for like old PS2 games? They're like, we machine learned
backgrounds
up to
in these Resident Evil games.
Yes, exactly that stuff. I think there's a Final Fantasy 10 or 9 is what it was. There was a 9 like texture pack for the PC that changes all the textures with machine learning, better high resolution stuff. And it's like I get what you're going for, but this isn't better. It's different. It's a higher
new.
resolution.
As
It's new.
an option, it is a cool novelty.
100%.
Yeah.
But
I ran into a wild situation with this last Thursday when I streamed the Mister for the first time, and I was playing Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo.
As you do.
Yes, of course. Gotta shoot those Moai heads. But so that thing has an option in it to set the SNES CPU to like turbo or whatever they call it, which is basically just speeding it up to way faster than it was originally, which smooths the game out, right? Like it gets rid of the slowdown, makes it run like perfectly, quote unquote. I could not beat the first fucking level of that thing, and I was banging my head into it over and over and over. And then somebody in the chat was like, I think you're screwing yourself over by playing this game at like an actual steady time scale. And so I turned it off and like got all that slowdown and stuff back in there. And sure enough, I blazed through the first like 3 levels on my first try, because like slowdown is, I guess, a part of that, like being able to play that game, right?
I did this. There was Vinny, I want to say you maybe did a quick look for Astabreed. It's like a ASTEBREED.
Yeah.
Like a shmup, like a mech shoot 'em up, right? And I played it on PC and I streamed it for Waypoint forever ago and set it to unlocked frame rate. And that is a game that just speeds up when the frame rate is up. And I got to one of the last levels and finally, and someone, I was like, stuck, I can't get through it. Someone was finally like, Austin, you need to put it at like 60 frames or lower. You can't play it like this. And it was like, you know, in anime when someone takes the weights off, everything is like, that was that moment for me. I'm like, oh wow, this is nothing. I've gone Kaioken, like I've activated
the moment where Neo stops the bullets.
Yeah, it was that exactly. Right. It was so good. But no, you're right. That's exactly the moment.
You're just circling around one of the bullet hell bullets, just like looking
Yeah.
at it. Being like,
Yeah, impressive.
right, tap it out of the way. It just kind of slowly moves.
Exactly.
That is a good question, because they've done a lot of this stuff on the Xbox One, right? Like there's a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but there are some. God, I'm trying to keep it straight. 360 games that run 4K now, right? Like, yeah, that's
Right.
totally what it is. Because like Red Dead Redemption runs in 4K now. Like they made a big deal out of that. It runs in 4K. It runs at a better frame rate, like et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think you can toggle any of that stuff off. And then maybe that's a case where you wouldn't want to, because it's not that different. But
What's their boost thing called? What's Microsoft the current thing where it's like better with Xbox or better boosted? Is it boosted? I forget. What...
Super Boost. I don't know. I don't know if it has a name. I'm not
It's
sure
called base boosted. I think that it's when you play it, you get base boosted. That's what it is. No,
Man,
it's
they
not
got a
called
name
base
for
boosted.
it.
Okay,
But they should.
But like they've
Pride
already
mode.
kind of had that, right? And then it's PS4 has the boost mode. That's
Yes.
boost mode.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
that's
that one
PS4.
straight up says like, hey, games
Yeah.
may not work right with this. We disclaim any responsibility.
Well, I think I don't know, Brad. You kind of know more about this. Is it because we have now hit is it just like x64 architecture? Is that why is that what's making all this possible to just kind of bring other stuff in? The programming and the games are running on similar
Not
hardware?
so much. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into the nitty gritty. The little bit of speculation I've read about this stuff is that it seems like Microsoft probably has more like of a software abstraction layer between like coding and the hardware, whereas PS4 games were probably developed a lot closer to the metal, if you know what that means. Like, basically, it's like a DirectX thing, right? It's like if you have DirectX translating a lot of the stuff that they want to do in the game, then it's easier to like fiddle with that intermediate layer to make changes down the line than it is if something is like coded directly to the way that a specific chip works.
That
or
makes
whatever.
sense.
That's
Yeah.
just speculation I've read about. I'm no expert, but it's super cool stuff. Like it's awesome that they're doing this. It's like an investment that probably not a lot of companies would make, right? In something that they're not necessarily. I mean, they may sell some more copies of old games, but this is not going to be like some huge moneymaker, right? So,
No, but it's a nice feature. It's
totally.
It's a good.
It's like a hearts and minds thing.
Yeah.
One last thing at the bottom, real quick. Like they don't come out and say it, but they kind of imply that they're not done adding more old games. Because if you remember, they came out like year and a half ago or something at this point, saying like, hey, we're done adding 360 games. Like we got to move on to the next generation of preserving the last generation. You know. But they kind of reopened the door at the end of this a little bit. Resurrecting titles from history often presents a complex mix of technical and licensing challenges, but the team is committed to doing everything we can to continue to preserve our collective game legacy. The team also continues to listen to feedback from the community on additional titles you would like to see added to the compatibility program. So if they didn't get Crimson Skies in there yet, maybe there's still a chance. I don't know. Maybe that's already on the list. But
we talked about this somewhere. Now I can't remember about how this would work with like a disc. You put the disc in and it downloads the game, and then it
that's how it works now.
authenticates.
Yeah.
And then I assume that's how it. And I mean, I would love to just. We definitely talk. Where did we talk about this? I mean, we've been having open mics in front of us for so long. It's all bled together. I have no idea where we talked about this, but like, because I think I remember saying this exact same thing, and I just had the thought again, and was like, I had this thought already that I would love to play Geometry Wars in HDR.
It's a different show. It counts as new material.
Okay, yeah, like that's what I want. Like I want to see Geometry Wars on like my new TV with HDR, and that stuff would be awesome.
Totally. I'm excited to see that stuff just from a technical standpoint.
I'll have to save that one for the Beastcast. So,
you gotta cover all your bases.
Yeah.
You know, the Venn diagram overlap is not total in those audiences. You gotta get it out to everybody. Not much to say here. This happened during the show last week, but BlizzCon was canceled along with everything else this year. I think that may probably be the actual last event of the year.
Well, PAX is still not canceled, right?
Oh,
yeah,
it's still up in the air.
Still scheduled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so BlizzCon typically is like a couple months even after PAX, so they're getting way out in front of that compared to what PAX apparently is trying to do.
So what's the story with TGS? Is that up or down? Canceled. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the story with Gamescom?
Canceled. Yeah,
Canceled.
So it's
fully canceled, not just
everything.
the
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, like digital events, like we'll sometimes
but
stand in.
Physical floor space.
I did not see that the international had been canceled or postponed until very recently.
Even though they're still calling this the TI-10 Battle Pass.
Right. Yes. Nothing stops the Battle Pass.
Wait, but will the next international still be TI-10? Or will it be TI? It should be TI-10-2 is what it should be.
Nice.
There's a dress sphere now.
That's actually perfect for Dota.
That'd be great.
I had to resist putting the Battle Pass in this list of news. Let's just not. I downloaded Dota again. I'm not sure I'm ever going to play it, but it's there.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad this year.
Dude, he's Skeleton King again.
I know.
I'm not going to get into it.
Do you think they'll at some point publishers will do roll up passes for games like a EA or an Ubisoft will be like, hey, if you pay $200, you get all the battle passes.
Humble battle bundle.
Yeah. Humble battle bundle. Yes.
Wounded.
I cut
because
this. We can't put that idea into the world.
I feel like there's so many now to keep track of. Like if you're, I mean,
you just get a battle pass that has different unlocks every other battle pass.
Okay, so it's like a battle pass.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
But to complete the circuit, eventually you have to go into another game to cut because that game's not on it for the next season. So you have to unlock that game and then get the other one up to get. Oh, it's just like Ouroboros of battle passes.
Yeah.
That's
all video games are these days. So.
Ben, as the adjunct professor here, I know that you're basically the last scientist standing here.
That's right.
But do you want to weigh in on Street Fighter V getting a fifth season? Because my understanding was that was kind of not in the cards.
So they announced Championship Edition and said we're putting one more character in. This was last year. One more character, and then it's going to be like you can buy Championship Edition, and it has everyone's big value proposition because we're not going to make any more characters. Street Fighter V is done. We'll see y'all when Street Fighter 6 happens. They didn't say that part, but that was presumed by everyone. And then, current events happened, and maybe they found themselves thinking, well, maybe it's a little harder to make Street Fighter 6. Maybe right now we can just kind of stretch a little bit. So they're doing one more season, and I'm using big ol' air quotes. No specifics yet. There's going to be a new stage and 5 new characters. They've kind of added at this point almost everyone that people would want to see to that game. Event Hubs ran a poll, which 5 characters do you want to see in Street Fighter V? And just the number of votes, the person in 5th has 200 votes. There's not a lot of people passionate. The characters left that people want are Makoto, Oro, Sea Viper, Fei Long, and Rose. Because those are the ones that aren't in it yet.
Okay, but wait. I know that Street Fighter is not a big crossover game. That's not where Capcom does that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm reading the quote here. It says, due to the positive reception of Season 4 and Champion Edition, we are planning to do a new Final Season V, meaning 5, Roman numeral 5, which will add V more fighters to the roster.
Oh.
V has come to Venom Snake added to Street Fighter 5.
I feel like
okay, Venom. Also, that would be a sick character in Tekken. But
that's the thing.
Street
Do you
Fighter.
remember at that Evo where somebody, as a goof, played the like snake sound?
Yes, I
and,
do.
Oh yeah.
And then who's the voice of David Hayter like got on Twitter and was like, "That's not real."
no. Cut
Yeah.
that. No.
Yes, he
But
is a
what if-
Tekken character.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like I could so easily imagine
He has
Snake's move lists or like his QCB in Tekken more than Street Fighter. But
it's just gonna be Huey.
oh, okay. I get to beat up Huey. Okay, cool, good. That guy sucks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I imagine we'll see like maybe probably one newcomer and some old ones. That's how they kind of been going at it. I mean, I don't follow Street Fighter 5 too closely, but you know, I also wonder if it has anything to do with Evo being canceled and them maybe wanting to wait to have a big event like that to announce a new, big game. Especially they know how the community has reacted to Street Fighter 5. I feel like they know that they have to win some people back, and maybe they can. I imagine it's a lot easier to do that if you're at Evo and it's like, check this out. Look, it looks, like this. It looks cool. Like it's got this thing. It's got these other features. Everyone goes crazy because everyone's ready for Street Fighter. So I don't know. We'll see.
Is Street Fighter 6 confirmed? Like
No.
that they're working on? Okay, no. Because I felt with Street Fighter 5 felt like kind of not a given either, right?
Street Fighter 5 has a very weird, long history of like passing around developers and stuff. Yeah, it was definitely not like, because 4, the story goes like 4 was their big reboot. They're like, we're going to bring it back to basics. Kind of no one believed in it except Ono. And then he pushed it over and everyone loved it. And then they kind of didn't know what to do with 5 after that point. Because like, what do you do after you return to normal?
I started to very dismissively
I hope
say,
someday
like,
I can find out, Ben. I hope someday I can find out.
like, this is super unfair, but I started to say, like, kind of make the same game again. Like, I know it's
Make Third Strike again.
I know it's very different, but like you talking about the character roster, like, did they just kind of do 4's character roster again? Because that's kind of what it sounds like.
There's a few characters from 4. I mean, I was personally a little surprised that my man Hakan only got 72 votes and placed 23 on this poll, but not everyone loves Turkish oil
23.
wrestling the same way I do.
Damn.
Damn, that's sad.
It's an acquired taste.
Khan's falling off.
You have to admit.
Do you know he has 8 children?
That's why he can't be in the game. He's so busy. He's a good dad. He's hanging out.
When they were
Work.
like, when they were toddlers, it was like, fine,
Right.
go on your fighting tournament.
Yeah.
And they all need their own oil. It's tough.
God.
All right, last story. It's a big one, or so I'm told.
Madden got delayed.
What's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Actually, that reminds me. I'm sorry, Jan.
Yes.
Jan, you have brought some breaking news with you before we
So
get
breaking
into
news.
the end of this segment.
They announced the date of the first DLC pack for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I don't care about that.
Oh.
New, old Pokemon, whatever.
Yeah.
The thing that y'all need to see is Galarian Slowbro. And I don't know if y'all remember, but Slowbro, like regular version,
Can you screen share it for us?
There's
There's an
a little
option
scared
in
to
here.
do that.
Okay.
But
Fair.
I'll look it
Fair.
up.
the regular Slowbro, Kanto Slowbro, the shelter is attached to its tail. Here, the shelter is attached to Slowbro's arm, so it looks like a little chubby hippo, like Mega Man, and he's coming,
Yeah.
Like a
he's
Yu-Gi-Oh!
coming strapped. I love it. I love everything about this.
He's very
That's
cool.
the only thing I
I
wanted
like
to
this
share.
slow, bro. Thank you. This is important news. I
He's
don't know why
also,
they
like-
didn't put that at the end of the trailer. They should have done a reveal of this slow, bro.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
But there's also a Galarian Slow King that appears to have like purple censored lines all over his face.
Who
Their
knows?
hype Slow King reveal.
Slow off, King.
My
Sorry.
Boo.
Sorry.
Doing that, but it's also the name of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Slow off,
I-
King.
Jan,
Oh,
beat it twice. He's beat the Pokemon was the best
Hell yeah.
Shield twice. I still get I walk in and I see was it Dynamax? I see
Yes.
the Dynamax Pokemon. I'm like, man, that's cool.
Cool.
That's cool. Like when they Dynamax and then he's got the one that just a big stone falls and squashes her. Like
It's messed
that looks
up.
cool. Yeah, it's messed up. But it definitely is like, man, you won.
Jan, I don't want to take us on too far of a Pokemon tangent, but I'm just curious if you've been keeping up with any of the like seasonal stuff, the raid. I know there was an big Eevee raid that like, is that stuff worth it? I haven't touched Pokemon in forever.
I need to stop touching Pokemon.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
like it's okay. I'm glad y'all are finding now is the time to talk to me about this. But yeah, like they've actually been doing like a good job, like speaking about events like that Animal Crossing has. Like they'll do like weeks of where these Pokemon that shouldn't be available in your game are now available, or like now you can find like, yo, you can get this chunky Pikachu. That's
I missed Chunky
Gigantamax.
Pikachu.
You missed Chunky Pikachu.
No.
Oh, do you have extras?
I can get you some extras.
Okay.
And,
Y'all got that chunky Pikachu?
Yo, Jan's got to hook up for Chunky Pikachu.
but yeah, it's that part's actually been neat. Like just checking in like every other week of like, oh, okay, cool. Like the raids are adjusted. I can get Pokemon with this ability versus like not being able to get it normally or having to trade away for it. And now, Vinny, now that you've opened up Nintendo Online to Max,
I know.
Max can just like trade for any and everything
I
now.
haven't told him about that. I don't know.
You can get
if
more
that's-
Pokemon.
I don't know if I can. When do you talk to your son about Chunky Pikachu?
That's a
when-
very
find
that's
it
a
in
very
the room.
very personal very personal decision.
He was holding it for a friend. It was not his Chunky Pikachu.
Yeah, when it's time, you'll know.
No.
All right. Last story coming out of Japan. Japanese technology journalist is how he's described. Zenji Nishikawa is teasing. I don't know what publications he has written for, but he is teasing what he is calling a huge scoop about Sega.
Okay.
To be more specific, he is likening it to you remember the first PlayStation 5 story that Wired got last year, how it kind of came out of nowhere, and it was just like, holy fuck, man, Wired just unveiled the PlayStation 5. He's saying it's like that.
Whoa.
In significance, except about Sega. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that tomorrow is when we find out. I want to say
Yeah, it'll be
June
tomorrow, the 4th.
June
Yeah.
4th, I believe, is when this is going out, assuming they stick to their original plans. The rumor mill has been spinning like crazy about this online.
What's the number one going? What gets you the best odds or the worst odds?
The one that I saw all over the place is, and I don't know where this idea came from because I think it's been pretty thoroughly debunked, is that Microsoft and Sega are partnering and that the Xbox would come out in Asia under the Sega name.
What?
That it would be the
That's an interesting one.
yeah,
but
like they
It's
would.
fun.
It's
but-
not. It's not
It's a fun. Yeah,
completely insane.
it's like it's not the Dreamcast 2. You know, like
No,
it's not an easy.
not
It's not an
quite.
easy one, right? It's not
Yeah.
like that one takes a little work. I like that.
And then, of course, as soon as that started going around, then it just turned right into Microsoft is buying Sega, and a bunch of people lost their minds about that. But
I would that to me is like not that big a leap. That one, like Microsoft buying Sega, like that's not as much a mind. Like we've had so much. Like I think as soon as we had the first Mario and Sonic games come out, that whole bubble was burst for me. Of like, oh, okay, we can go anywhere with this. So
yeah.
I could see that. I mean, they've been scooping up
They've
developers.
it has now said no, right? Like that. I think the original person
Well,
who
that's
said
no
this
fun.
did, or at least said, I guess he never mentioned Microsoft.
Yeah, a couple analysts have gotten into the mix with their own sources. Kind of seems like they have some idea what's going on, and one of them pointed out like, hey, Microsoft was never actually mentioned at the top of this. That seems to be out of nowhere. And then it's also been said like, hey, this guy is not known to blow smoke about stuff.
Okay.
Like he's not known to like hype his stuff up. Like
I'm very skeptical about this.
Yeah, I'm kind of
my
with
read
you.
on this, because if it was as big, everyone knew the PS5 was coming, which
Yeah.
is to say, I think many of us knew people who had PS5 dev kits or who had been in conversation about getting a PS5 dev kit at some point soon. If this was something that big, I suspect we would have heard there would be wake in the water. Let's say.
Yes.
Maybe we don't know where the boat is. I can't tell you if it's a speedboat or a
Right.
cruise ship, but there's the water is moving. I would be surprised to see if this was, quote, as big as the Wired PS5 story. Though I guess maybe the Wired PS5 story we shouldn't think of it as big of a get as it is, or as big of a scoop as it is.
Sure.
And in that world, then yeah, sure, I guess. But I'm keeping my expectations in check.
Yeah, I mean, at this, I'm not trying to denigrate Sega at all here, but I just can't imagine what Sega could have going on that qualifies.
So would you have if they came out on June 4th and say this didn't happen in the past, but we're making a new Shenmue, right? Say Shenmue wasn't already being made. Do you think that would qualify as big a news, like something of that caliber? No, it's got to be bigger than that.
No, it's
okay.
gotta be
Compared
big.
to new hardware
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're saying, but I'm saying, like, do you think, like, in their mind, like, that's a big deal? If they were like, we're making a new Sonic game, is that like a
No, it'd have to be like Sonic's dead. Like Sonic is not
They're
dead.
killing Sonic?
We have killed him.
Yeah.
But what if it
People
were
in the
like
streets with newspapers? Sonic's dead.
But is it like Sonic's
Right.
dead and he's been dead for like 10 years? This has been
It's not been
No,
the
they're
real
making
Sonic.
a movie
Yeah.
sequel. Or they announced, so like that's off the table, I guess. Sonic's alive and well, and hanging out with
It
Jim
would-
Carrey.
It would have to be something because, like, okay, so Sega owns a bunch of stuff. Sega
Mhm.
owns what? Creative Assembly,
Brave Assembly.
Atlas.
Yeah.
Do they own anybody else big? It would have to be like their. I don't even know what it could be. To be
Yeah,
this big.
the only other tidbits of info in here are, and this may just be a coincidence, but I guess it's coinciding pretty close with their 60th anniversary.
Sure.
And also one of the translations of the reporting out of Japan seems to use the word revolutionary, which
Okay.
sure.
They're making a new mini console that
Yeah.
plays all
That's
the old
exactly right.
Wow.
That's what I was
I mean,
thinking.
hey,
too.
it's-
They're making a mini Dreamcast.
I'd buy a mini Dreamcast.
PS5, mini Dreamcast, they're both new consoles. It's like practically the same thing.
What if it's like all Dreamcast games are coming? What if there's going to be like a Sega? Okay, so they have the Sega, like the Genesis emulator on Steam, right? They're like all those games. What if they're like
Mhm.
all Dreamcast games are coming to PC? Okay,
Sure.
Oh,
that'd be kind of
Steam,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be-
Is
That'd be
that
cool.
big? That's pretty big news, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure.
We would
Yeah.
talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah.
It's
But it-
kind of
but it's-
revolutionary.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's not revolutionary. It's cool. What's revolutionary in 2020?
I don't. Oh boy, that's a big question.
Sega's founding a new country.
Yeah,
And-
right.
Right.
Segata.
Where they can now have their
Yeah.
fighting tournament for real.
Yes.
And then,
What if Sega's opening up their own theme park?
Sega World 2. Sega, let's do it's
Yeah.
happening.
Oh man.
Did you guys see that there's a new Segata has a son?
Yes. Segata
Oh.
Sanshiro. There's been some of those teases going on, and there's been some like weird allusions to Virtua Fighter off and on.
Okay,
So-
a new Virtual Fighter might be revolutionary.
Some-
Actually.
Real
Sure.
Virtua Fighter.
God.
They're actually doing it.
Yeah.
They
In
have an
VR.
island picked out and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Austin. I'm keeping my expectations in check on this one.
I just don't want. Listen, I'm a Sega fan. I don't want all Sega fans can dream up that one thing. If they could tell me our new news is we're sending everyone who wants one a new Virtual On machine, I'd be very happy.
Everyone-
At no cost. This is our gift to you at this trying times. And I'd be like,
Right.
thank you, Sega, revolutionary. But that's not going to happen for me. I know it's not. So
So
Well,
keep
yeah.
expectations in check. Is
Yes,
my,
it's
is my
always-
advice.
nice to keep your expectations low and be pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
So, all right.
2020.
Yes. Yep. That's our motto. All right. That's everything I got for news. Let's sit back and take one more quick break, and then come back and read just a few emails. All right. It's the last leg of the show. We've made it. Surprise Jan.
Hello.
Mhm.
Back in frame. You never know where Jan's going to pop up.
I'm trying to think of how I can rig a dummy to fall from the top of my frame,
Oh,
and then I'll just like, oh, hey, sorry guys.
That's pretty good.
That's thinking.
Okay.
That's thinking like a video producer. All right, let's just read a handful of emails here. These are just the electronic communiques that came into bombcast@giantbomb.com. I've got a bunch of them here. We will just do a few. Man, really just starting with a banger here. David from North Carolina. Ice cubes or crushed ice?
Cube.
It depends.
Cube.
What's
Wow.
the drink? What's the drink? What's
Really?
the drink?
Yeah.
What's a drink
Huh.
where I would want fucking
I was-
little
yeah, I
pieces
was-
of
I was-
garbage
I was-
that are going to melt?
I was
in
gonna
30
say, I can't-
seconds?
A
cannot think
black
of-
cherry soda.
I don't know.
There's something
Vietnamese
about
iced
that.
coffee too.
Vietnamese iced coffee. Yeah.
Okay, is that something you're trying to cool? Oh well, no, it's already iced, right?
I don't know.
You're not trying to cool it down rapidly, right?
I feel like if I'm going crushed ice, I kind of want. I'm moving towards like a slushy or an icy at that point, and like just
Limeade,
let's go all in.
Yeah, I think it's a concentration of flavor. It's why I didn't say black cherry soda. I didn't say like a cherry Coke, but a black cherry soda or something that has that density of flavor. I want crushed ice.
Sure. I guess
I think it's because Vinny's right. At the end of it, I want to be like, oh, I have a little slushy at the end.
If I drink this fast enough, I'm gonna have
it's a little treat for me. Otherwise, ice cubes.
Yeah, I gotta go.
I just find something very soothing about stirring a cup with a few large ice cubes in it around. It's like a very, I don't know. It's one of those things that I do all the time when I have one of those, like a drink in my hand with some ice cubes. I'll stir it a couple times and just watch the 3 ice cubes at the top kind of swirl around. It's hypnotic to me. I can't explain it.
How do you feel about that? Like the little circle, like the cylindrical ice cubes you can get sometimes from like, you know what I'm talking about? I don't.
Yeah.
You like
Is
those?
that the good ice? What's the good ice?
What type? That's the one that sometimes it's hollow in the middle, right?
Yeah,
it's
hollow, exactly.
And
like drilled through.
Yeah, you like put it in your mouth and like put your tongue on it. And,
yeah.
I
don't know what that's from. I don't know. Why do they make it like that?
I bet they come off a rod that is cooled. Like I bet there's a rod that goes through that.
I did a search for cylindrical ice, and people also ask, "What is the good ice called?"
If you Google the good ice, every image is the like little cylindrical ice.
That's really the good ice?
Apparently, the good ice.
Oh man, I've been using the bad ice.
You're afraid of nugget ice, also called Sonic ice or that good ice.
You can't get it all the time. That's why it's the good ice.
Now we know Sega's new announcement. It's Sonic Ice.
It's Sonic Ice.
Finally, the good ice.
Oh, anyway, you could get that ice at home apparently with a $500 ice machine. No thanks.
I'm okay.
Yeah, it ain't that good.
I'll go take my cubes and drill them and carve them and then sell them on Etsy.
Does it have Wi-Fi? Is it like a smart ice tray?
It looks like it might be. This website or this thing doesn't say Wi-Fi, but. Oh,
you gotta subscribe to that good ice.
You have to buy the patches. You have to feed a packet into the machine like a Juicero.
All right, next email comes from Ryan in South Korea. If people shut up about Skate 4, it will make it more likely. Do you agree? I mean, they've been trying the keep yapping about it constantly strategy for like 4 years now.
Y'all talked about
it has not paid off.
IGN story, right? About the Skate 4 with that great quote.
I'm not sure.
Did you not see that incrable quote by Jason Dill?
Was that recently?
Oh, it was the beginning of the month, or the beginning of last month, May.
Oh, I might have.
I'm going to read this just in case someone here hadn't heard it. In an episode of the 9 Club, a podcast run by professional skateboarder Chris Roberts.
Oh, yes.
Dill hopped on the chat revealing that he'd been called by EA about his participation in a potential mobile version of Skate 3. So far, Brad doesn't think he's heard it before.
I must have been out.
Quote from Dill. I just got a call from the EA people about 10 months ago, and they said, hey, we want to talk about the skate games. This woman emailed me, and she said basically, hey, Jason, we want to do a mobile version of Skate 3. And I wrote back, and I said, what else? She wrote back and said, no, that's it. So I wrote back, look, no big deal. No one wants your stupid mobile version of Skate 3. Make fucking Skate 4 already. EA wrote back to Dill saying that it wasn't looking to pursue Skate 4, to which Dill replied, well, have a lot of luck on Need for Speed 29. I won't be in your stupid mobile game.
Wow.
Reporting from Jordan Oleman over on IGN.
They didn't know they were dealing with a gamer.
Yeah, holy shit.
God.
Straight animus.
Yeah.
Ow.
People want Skate 4.
I guess they want some skate.
And also the Need for Speed series has been in kind of a rough shape lately.
He brings up 2 very good points.
Yeah,
he's a little rude about it.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. A little abrasive, maybe work on his people skills a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I think people need to keep making noise about Skate 4. I think it's the only way they'll make Skate 4.
Yes.
I want it. I want Skate 4.
I'm with you. Seems like, have you messed with any of those? It seems like there's like 18 different, like we're not exactly making skate, but we're making skate projects out there.
Session last year.
And, I forget
That's
what the
the
other
one I
one.
played.
It seemed okay. It seemed cool. Like I think I had a really good session with Session. I had a really good I'm going to do this trick. I'm going to do this whatever kickflip into a grind. I'm going to do it here on these steps. It took me 30 minutes, and when I landed it, it looked dope. and we cut a cool video for it, like, and that it's cool, but I don't know what the audience is for an independent like skate sim right now, unfortunately. I don't know.
Sometimes a good session sesh is all you can ask for.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That's right. There's a good email. Dustin in Rosenberg, Texas. On last week's episode, Jeff mentioned he was concerned about his, quote, lack of motivation in Minecraft. He then proceeded to describe my exact playstyle. After a decade of playing Minecraft, I have come to accept that my playstyle is a part of who I am, and I would not change it for the world. I'm the type of person who likes to prepare areas for others to build from.
Huh.
I find joy in carving out mountains and mines, setting up farms. I enjoy lighting trails and building roads and stairs for others to walk. It's an essential task that sets the stage for more creative builders. Every team needs someone to carve away the fat and set systems into motion. It is a thankless job that has to be done, and I am proud to do it. I wonder what other people's playstyles say about them.
You know what? Hey, let's say it. Thanks to the players out
Yes.
there who do that.
That's right.
Here's
Not
to the
thankless.
I applaud in my Minecraft server every night at 7 p.m. for the people out there.
God.
here's to the unsung miners.
God.
That's totally. I feel like that gets me. That hits the part of my brain that I like in Minecraft as well. The infrastructure stuff of hey, you're blazing a trail, and I'm like right behind you, widening out the cave, putting the torches on the wall, being like, this looks like a tunnel now. While you're mining unknown stone way ahead in the dark, and
You're
I'm
going
just
into
like,
the nether, and
making sure this is OSHA approved, and like buttress this up, and like, okay, this is now safe. There are guardrails on the side, lava. That for me is also it really tickles a part of whatever activation in my brain is happening in that game.
I have kind of two things I love in Minecraft. The first is organization. I love getting those chests. Just this is the tools chest, and the tools go in there, and then going in there, and just like kind of coming up with like, okay, what makes sense, and organizing. It's not like me in real life, which is kind of strange. I'm a very disorganized person. But the other one that is true to me in real life is I like to just bring just a tiny bit of Joker energy into the servers, just have that little bit of wild card element, There's just something you can't control there, and sometimes it ends in a little bit of an explosion or lava or something, but hey, rebuilding is just as fun as building.
If you break it, then it just means you get to put it back together again.
I'm definitely like a stockpiler, and like, hey, I'm going to bring you, here is all of the obsidian you'll need to do anything dope with obsidian.
You're a supply chain guy.
I'm a supply chain guy. But what I also am is like, maybe the analogy would be like a gardener, where like my house will not be in order. My house will be crappy. I'll have dirt floors. I'll like have torches instead of really fancy glowstone stuff. But then I'll have an idea for like a really cool water feature, or like, I want this to be terraced in an interesting way outside, and that will look really cool. And then you look at my actual house and be like, you live in a hovel next to the hanging gardens. What are you doing?
That's totally turned out to be my thing. Is I'd had an unexpected Jones for like interior design. Like I could not deal with that grass and dirt floor in there. I had to oak plank the entire floor, and it had to be all the exact same color of dark oak, right? And I had to make all those lighting fixtures. I just want to make it look nice and pretty in there.
Just like real life, I keep trying to get into beekeeping, but it just doesn't pan out.
Keep at it.
So many times I would just look over with you with that bee on a leash. Just
wait, you could put a bee on a leash on a bee?
Yeah, and then it kept
It's my favorite corn song.
I also really like systems, but Minecraft, the way we do the Minecraft stuff without the mods and anything, it's like, and this is part of my production brain. Like, I want to set it all up from the ground up so that you never have to touch. You only have to hit one button and everything goes right. Like like hit this thing and then like, oh, the minecart goes in this, and you set the infrastructure up. But Minecraft isn't really set up for that. It's not. You're not getting infinite resources. Resources go away. You have to move on and do a thing. So it's a little hard to get into that level of like Factorio and Satisfactory.
I feel like
style.
we would have to be playing like every day for multiple hours a day to get to that if you want it. Like, because I feel like you do see people out there, but it's like people who have harvested their entire world for every element and or playing creative mode.
So yes, or playing creative mode, right?
God, it would be very cool though to have. I think I'm maybe a week back from watching your stuff, or the last thing I watched was the video where maybe I'm even in the middle of it. Jeff broke out to build his weird sky house. And like once that stuff starts happening, I do feel like the infrastructure starts becoming more valuable because then it's like, yeah, I do want to quickly be able to travel between these things on a minecart or, a canal with a boat or whatever it is. And that's where I think that's where the infrastructure Factorio brain will come in handy more than we're all in one big, super hut where like, who cares? Okay, we're done digging here anyway. Once there are these like big places across the map is when that stuff really starts to shine.
Man, resources are tough. I've only ever really played a lot of Minecraft in creative mode, and the survival mode is, man, when you need to have gold to build the powered track and all that stuff, it is like, oh man, that's tough.
You got to convince people. You need a hype man who can come in and say, listen,
we
we're
need
building
this monorail.
We need this monorail. We're all going to benefit from it.
I'm with the crowd on mods. You guys say the word. You ready? I think we've earned the right.
We should get a little. Yeah, I don't want to go from 0 to 60.
Like a taste. To get a little taste.
Yeah. Bunch of people.
What do you think?
So multiple people since last week have recommended a mod where only one person needs to sleep in a bed and it instantly turns day.
Sold.
Like that.
That's like the evac all mod for like XCOM.
Okay. Sounds like.
Then is that person chained to the house in a weird way?
That's a good question.
Where like you want that, or they just have to carry a bed with them at all times? Like
that's a solution.
That's like it just reminded us like some like Arc Systems fighter or something, just like a bed on their back that they slam down and like
literally bed man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's do a couple more here. How about this one? Alex in Seattle. In a recent Bombcast, Jan invoked Paperboy's player character as, quote, the Paperboy.
Oh.
I could not help but hear this as the title of a mid-Xbox 360 and PS3 era gritty reboot. Please pitch.
I want to say they did a Paperboy thing after Paperboy 2, which was the last one I remember. But I wanted to say they tried to bring that back somehow. But the Paperboy, like the what's the Kevin Costner one, the
Postman.
I was just gonna. My whole joke was gonna be I was just gonna sit here and describe the Postman without saying the name the Postman.
Yeah,
but you got me.
But that movie,
there was going to be in 2000. Some sort of updated Paperboy. It looks like, but I don't know.
I feel like it would be like, have you ever seen Premium Rush? Jan, I feel like you definitely saw Premium Rush, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt bike messenger movie.
I love this movie.
I know, but like like you're like
the jiggle's good in this one.
It's like kind of a Mirror's Edge vibe going on, where you have to get important documents from A to B. The government or some organization is on your ass. Yeah.
There was an N64. I don't know if this came out, but there was an N64 Paperboy game in 2000. I don't know if this is from a game that was. I cannot tell. If only there was a website about video games I could go to find out.
All gone.
They're all gone in this post-COVID world. This doesn't look good to me. I don't know.
I would imagine the Paperboy would be the Paperboy's all grown up. He's like 60, right? Made a fortune off of just that original paper, and just has nostalgia for newspapers, and is like, I can bring these back. And you start. It's almost like a Wall Street Kids kind of thing, where you're like investment and like you got it's or like a tycoon, where you're building out a actual physical paper network, and now you're managing other paper boys and girls and people that are going and delivering papers all around the world until you have taken over, steamships steamship. Why would it be a steamship? Because you love steam.
Well, because it takes place in the early 20th century, and it's also the sequel to Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane was the Paperboy and became basically Hearst as an empire. Very sad. It's a tragedy, really.
It's an alternate ending for Citizen Kane.
Finally, we have the Citizen game of video games, Paperboy 3.
It fades up from the credits and comes back up, and actually he gets up and he's like, okay, so papers.
I think it's a crossover with the next season of Atlanta, which stars a fictional rapper named Paperboy. So he's all about that Paperboy. So that's the song.
It just plays constantly. That's it.
It's a good song.
Good song.
All right. Let's call this the last email. Wait, is that a note of regret in your voice?
I was shocked.
I could find a couple.
Did you know I was a delivered papers? I was a paper boy.
No kidding.
I didn't know that.
Bicycle and everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ever
How
put
was-
one through somebody's
yeah,
window?
yeah. How was your aim?
No, no, I had to. Yes, I had to get rid of the bees and watch out for lawnmowers and
Yeah,
do-
dogs.
These will get you.
The worst part was you had to go to the door by door and collect the money, and you had to knock on the
Right.
door and you had to do a little collection book and you had to be like, Mr. McGuire, you owe me $5 for letting you. Don't shut the door, Miss McGuire. I need it. No, it's 3 weeks. I can't get. I'll never get that mongoose.
Anybody ever tell you to beat it, kid?
They would just not answer the door,
Oh,
which is
Oh,
which is real. No, that's not. It wasn't fun. Now it's like you have to. I think the paper has to be delivered by like 6 a.m. and it's adults do it because it's they guarantee delivery super early in the morning. At least in my. It's a little paperboy story.
thanks, Vinny.
Yeah, it's actually the story of my life. Is the paperboy.
All right. Last email. It's from Drew in Ithaca, New York. I think somebody must have asked how upstate New York is these days because he said, we're doing just fine. Thank you very much for your concern.
Oh,
He goes on to say, quick question. When making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, do you put the peanut butter on one piece of bread and jelly on the other piece of bread? Or do you combine them up on a single slice while leaving a good, clean slice of bread to clean your knife?
Gotta go. I can't be here anymore.
Yeah, that's imagining trying to put jelly on top of peanut butter,
Wait,
which is I assume
wait, you
what you
don't-
would try.
That's...
What?
What?
No,
Wait.
you have 2 pieces of bread.
You don't...
you
What?
have 2 pieces of bread.
But
and you
when
combine them.
but when
Peanut butter.
when they go vertical and squish together, something might fall out. You might lose some.
Not the
That's why you take the peanut butter because it's tackier.
Yes, and you slap it.
It's
yeah.
still, it's
I
not
learned
perfectly.
this from a cooking show. You put a little dome of jelly in the middle, and it'll spread
Oh,
out.
it
even
spreads
a little
out.
bit
Oh, it's
better.
like thermal paste on a CPU. Just put a dab in the middle,
Yeah.
and it just kind of
Yeah.
squishes.
That's
So
where they
do
got
you-
that from. Yeah.
all right. Which do you do first? It's peanut butter first, right? And then you wipe
Yes.
the peanut butter off on the bread, and then you put the
Yes.
knife in for the jelly, and then
Yes.
jelly it up.
This is
Yes.
100% right.
Yes.
And then I clean the knife on the top of the bread with the jelly, and it's an extra little jelly
It's
bite.
a little extra. Yeah.
Oh,
Ben's got
that knife goes right in my mouth. That is, I got that jelly right there.
I haven't had peanut butter and jelly in a minute. I should just go make a peanut butter
that
and jelly.
sounds really
Yeah.
good.
You guys, you'll come around to my way of thinking one day.
I'll try
So
it.
it's
Listen,
fun to-
Brad,
you know,
I'm
it's
gonna tell
kinda-
you, I'm going to try it.
Kind of fun to swirl the jelly around in the peanut butter a little bit.
I had this is a very personal thing, and I probably shouldn't be sharing this, but I had an ex-girlfriend, not my current wife, get so mad at me once for not spreading the peanut butter to the corners of the bread when I made her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It was like a pretty heated argument about like basically she's very nice, by the way, but like basically like look at this garbage. Look what you've done. Look what you
Until
look what you have
you
made.
push her too far.
Vinny, was there maybe another issue in that relationship that was
There could have been.
bubbling underneath the peanut butter and jelly?
Let's just say maybe there could have been. It was college. There's a lot of
Yeah.
tensions, but like,
Relationships are hard. Yeah.
but like it
Someone
was
spread
basic,
too thin.
but it was basically like a. Would you slop this together for? You just slop some peanut butter on a thing. You didn't. When
Is
I
this
make
the
you a
effort-
peanut
this is
butter,
the effort I'm worth. This
yeah,
is
that's
it?
right. That's right.
Okay.
That is what I get. I don't even get it spread to the corners. Now I have such a thing in my head whenever I make somebody a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It has to reach all the corners. It has like full coverage on peanut butter. I will absolutely admit I put too much peanut butter on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm thick on that peanut butter and jelly.
No.
That peanut butter is like, yeah, that's like
Okay.
there's depth on that, and it's
That's a. I would say that's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, not a jelly and peanut butter sandwich. We already call it a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So that joke doesn't work. I'm gonna say it anyway. I guess
it's all I like. I like peanut butter.
peanut butter's
Peanut butter's
good.
It's not
Peanut
bad.
butter's
It's good.
Y'all
Peanut
ever-
butter-
There's no peanuts in it.
Oh no, chunky.
Oh no.
I'm
Yeah.
smooth also.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I
smooth.
gotta go. Yeah. Y'all
I
ever,
like
y'all-
peanuts. I just don't need that in my peanut butter. If I want peanuts, I'm gonna go eat peanuts. That's fine.
Oh, they just put it right in there for you. You get extra peanuts.
Oh, okay.
y'all ever do a peanut butter and honey sandwich?
Yeah,
I haven't, but I would try that.
Oh,
that
it's
sounds
good.
good.
It's good as
Throw
hell.
some sea salt on that too.
But oh wow, dang.
Ooh.
But
Mhm.
I have to say, for reasons I cannot explain, when I do peanut butter and honey, both slices of bread have to get roughly equivalent quantity of peanut butter. And then the honey goes in the middle.
And then honey in the
honey
middle.
goes
in the
middle.
Yeah.
It brings out it's the support player.
I
It brings
wanted-
out the
I want to
flavor.
say as a child there was a strange interaction between honey and plain untoasted bread, and it scarred me for life. And now
Oh wow.
Oh, you're like, I don't. Wait. So you mean you don't have you wouldn't have like honey toast? You wouldn't take
No,
a piece of
what's-
toast and just put honey on it?
Well, because there would be butter in the middle, so yes.
Yum.
You've got that.
I'll just put honey straight
Oh,
on
wow,
toast.
dang, that's
That's
bold.
good.
That's bold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I'll put
These
honey.
are all very comfort foody things for me, and I'm
Yeah.
realizing now it's because if my mom is listening, I hope she understands this is not a judgment. We grew up broke, and so the idea of we have bread,
Yeah.
let's just put various things on bread,
Just
and this
bread
is a
and-
different meal.
I have eaten
Bread and-
ketchup sandwiches.
Absolutely. Yeah. So shit. But now I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Does it? Yeah, it sounds great.
I would also say don't knock it, but a peanut butter jelly and cream cheese sandwich. All goes together.
Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Peanut butter jelly and cream cheese on a sandwich
Wow.
together.
Wow.
It's like a lot.
That's
That's a
that's,
dense. That's a dense.
that's intense.
That's a grown-up sandwich.
That's
Yeah.
If I made that when I was a kid, I would have gotten in trouble because of the waste.
Okay, yeah.
That sounds like a.
That's like an adult Vinny. Like, yeah, I'm
Wait,
using apple pop and
This
cream
is what it means to be an adult. I can do whatever I
Yeah.
want.
What's
I
the
buy
order of
groceries.
operations on that? It's
So
like
that-
peanut butter.
stuff. Yeah, that gets tough. Peanut butter, cream cheese, jelly's always last.
Okay.
Jelly's always last. I think that's
Jelly's
also
always
true. I
last.
think jelly's always last.
So wait, you've
It's
only
the
got.
hardest to control, which in a way to me means it's like you got to use the light touch at the very end because it could fuck up everything else.
Yeah.
You
It's
know
like
what- yeah.
you can't put cream cheese on top of jelly. It's just you're in a mess there. And we get the cream cheese in the block, not the whipped cream cheese. So like
Oh.
you're already in danger of tearing that bread apart if you don't go with the grain. You know.
Hey, how do you feel when you butter like toast or something and the butter's cold? Like maybe you're at a diner or whatever, and it comes out and you're like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
a block. It's not
Doesn't
going to
hate
spread
it.
nicely.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
It sucks because
I know.
you're being denied the great pleasure of well toasted bread
The
with the
perfect bite.
butter that's been saturated through the bread.
Oh.
Oh, are you
Ugh.
kidding me? We figured that out. People figured out butter and bread. These are incredible inventions in the long history of humanity. And we figured out how to milk an animal, turn it into butter, take wheat, turn it into bread, heat the bread just so. Oh,
Amazing. We're amazing.
amazing.
We
We're
figured that out.
amazing people.
Millennia.
This probably says more about my horrible relationship with carbohydrates than anything, but like I remember as a kid used to watching like movies where like old like pirates and stuff like that, and they'd all be prisoners and they get a piece of stale bread and I'd be like, damn, that looks good.
Yeah, or like learning about hardtack, and they're like, it was this like bread that they ate that was really hard because it never went bad, and I'm
You
just
could
like,
keep it forever.
You're telling me.
That looks
Right?
really- I could probably do that. Just give me some bread, and then it realized, it's probably moldy, like the
Oh yeah.
way there. But then I was like, we could peel that off. That's all right.
Y'all
right,
want
you can wrap
to talk about a banana and mayonnaise sandwich?
Ooh,
I
I was
can't
gonna
go there
throw
with
peanut
you.
butter, jelly, and potato chip sandwich into the mix, but I'll cede that point.
I've seen a peanut butter and lettuce sandwich.
Wow.
What type of lettuce? What are we talking? We're talking romaine.
Romaine.
Yeah,
Okay. Man,
That
you went right to
Why
it.
did you both say okay? Like that justifies it.
Well, because there are other worse lettuces he could have chosen.
Like what if it was
Oh, if it's an
shreddus?
iceberg, then that's too far.
Iceberg is too far. Yes, iceberg is too far. Iceberg is too far, Ben.
Iceberg
I
is
mean, it's
always too
crispy,
far.
But it's not, I'm not going to get, it's not crispy. It's not like it's burnt. You know what I mean? It has a crisp to it. It has a crispness to bite into it, but it's not, I'm not going to add that to a sandwich if I can help it.
But, iceberg lettuce, there's not a lot going on there.
There's nothing, it's water. It's water.
Yeah.
It's green water that's been,
It's the ice of food.
it's the ice of food. And I'll eat ice. I think I'd rather eat ice than iceberg.
But is it the good ice?
no, wow. That was great.
Oh,
There's-
boy.
Oh,
Link this up. There's your sync point. Just say
All right.
we're both saying good at the exact same time.
As long as that, yep, we got it.
oh.
We'll fix, some stuff went on during the show, but we'll fix it. We'll get it there. All right, that's going to do it for emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the address that you send those to. And that's thus going to do it for the show. Thank you guys again, all of you, for taking the time to sit in. on
Thanks
this,
for having me.
on this tumultuous week. I guess we'll be kind of back to normal schedule, right? Like we had planned some stuff
Oh, who knows?
this week.
Day by
around the-
day,
around the PS5 reveal, which got pushed back, and some other stuff around that kind of thing, but it's all kind of on hold right now. So I don't know how much we want to commit to stuff, but I think pretty similar schedule this week to what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Until the kind of quasi E3 announcement-ish stuff starts ramping back up. So we will get there.
Yes, at some point we are looking to do a kind of roll-up of the week in E3, not E3 announcements, and do that on a Friday. We're planning on trying to do that this week. Obviously, events didn't work out that way, but when that starts, that is our kind of plan, and to also talk over these things as as the opportunity arises.
Yeah, stuff's gonna get announced. New products.
I don't know.
You guys ready to consume?
Yeah. Wow.
I got another UFC pizza in the freezer.
Consume some new shit. Okay. All right. Sounds good. But yeah, so we'll be back with the Astroneers and the Minecrafts and the Clue Crews and the you name it. We got it. That's our motto around here.
As a viewer, I've appreciated all of it in this very hectic and stressful time.
Thank you.
I was a Giant Bomb fan long before I was part of the Giant Bomb family, and continue to be one. So it has been so good to just have that stuff to turn to when I need something to like ease myself into the evening and like not be so stressful. So thank you.
As a fan of Austin Walker, I appreciate you as a friend.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you all in my life, and I appreciate all of you.
The feeling is mutual, and I very much appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, it's been nice doing that stuff too. I don't think we went into it planning to do nothing but like building and crafting games, but I felt like it's been very nice to just casually just build some stuff instead of like murdering constantly. So
yeah, the construction stuff I love that stuff, and it's been fun to play with other people.
Yes. So anyway, all right, we'll get out of here. Look for more stuff later this week. Thank you guys again for being here. Thank everybody at home for listening. And I'm going to find my Fade to Black key, and we'll see you next time.